All right, we will call this meeting to order. This is a regular meeting for the Flagler Beach City Commission. Today is Thursday, June 11th. The time is 5:30 p.m. And Commissioner Sherman, if you could lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and we will follow that by a moment of silence to honor our veterans, members of the armed forces, and first responders.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you. Sorry about that, Scott. Shoved my chair in here. All right, well, everybody settle. If you could take a moment to look at your cell phone, make sure it's on silent vibrate or turned off, please. And Penny or City Manager, do we have any changes or deletions on the agenda?
Not for me, sir.
All right, in that case, we will open this up to public comment. This is items that are not on the agenda. Citizens are encouraged to speak. Comments should be limited to 3 minutes. And if you could address the chair and just start with your name and address for the record. Public comment. Mr. Paul Ike.
Got it. Commissioner Cooley, members of the commission and administration. My name is Paul Ike. I live on North Flagler Avenue here in Flagler Beach. A few months ago, I came before this commission with an observation that I had. I am one of those people that regularly uses the bridge for exercise. I walk the bridge, I walk back home. What I noticed at the time was the increase in particularly e-bikes, and hoped that the commission would look at that and see if there was anything that should be done about that, knowing that the bridge, Moody Boulevard, is not within the city limits. That belongs to the state and under the direction of the Department of Transportation. One of the things that I have noticed, and the reason that it brings me here today, is that that kind of traffic has increased. We now see more motorized conveyances of different kinds on the bridge, bikes, e-bikes, mini bikes, and the difficulty there is that some of the people, not all of them, are using the sidewalk to get from one side to the other. Not sure if things have changed at the state level, but at one time it was not legal for anyone to ride a bicycle or use any kind of motorized conveyances on a sidewalk. That is a sidewalk. That led me to the next thing that I wanted to bring before the commission, that is something else, an observation. And that observation is that people riding bicycles and particularly e-bikes are now traveling from west to east using the westbound lane where the bicycle path is set. I have seen on a couple of occasions people coming in the opposite direction and not quite knowing what to do because it wasn't meant for that. And I was hoping that the commission would take that under advisement and see if they can get any kind of recognition from the Department of Transportation as to what their thoughts are, because I know that the whole state is dealing with this issue. The other thing that I wanted to bring to the commission was I would like an answer as to what all the surveying is that's going on North Flagler Avenue. I'd like to know particularly what the purpose of that surveying is, where the funding is coming from for all the surveying, and who's granting the permissions for those surveys to take place. Also, has there been any notice to the residents on North Flagler Avenue as to those things going on with the survey? I don't need those answers tonight, but I'll be looking for you to provide them at your earliest convenience. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else for public comment? Mr. Reynolds.
Good afternoon, Darrell Reynolds, 322 North 11th Street. The first thing I'd like to ask is if we could all agree to waive special use permits for any kind of cleanup in Flagler Beach. I mean, and I've read through it. I guess it's a 60-day. They've got to come in front of commissioners to get that waived. But if anybody's willing to volunteer their time and come into Flagler Beach and pick up trash, I think we should not charge them anything for it. I think we should charge people for leaving trash, which we're working on tonight, right, Drew? So that's the first thing. Second thing, I sent all of you guys, all of the commissioners, I sent you some banners that we're willing to print up and put on your cars so you can ride through in the parade. Hopefully we can put one on the fire truck as well. And it's essentially, asking people not to litter. I don't think we need a lot of time to talk about that, but I hope, Sherman, I'm sure you're willing to do it as well, right? And the third thing is the 5th of July. If one of you could volunteer to be cleanup with commissioner. So cleanup with commissioner on the 5th of July, I think it'd go a long way with the volunteers we have coming out. We've got a great group of people here. The 5th is on a Sunday, so we're dealing with people going to church, but I think I'd like to do it earlier than 9 o'clock just because it's hot. I mean, if we could get some people out and get maybe a group out at 7, 8, I don't care what time you choose, but I think if the commissioners got behind it, it'd get a lot of attention. And the last thing is the flags. No sooner do we pick up flags, they reappear. I mean, it's like every time the only thing I think we can grow in Flagler Beach is an orange flag, a blue flag, a green flag. I mean, they pop up everywhere. And I think the last time I asked who's responsible for removing them, the best I can tell is whoever asked for them to be put out, it should get them. I mean, I think I saw within 15 days after the project has been completed, but nobody picks them up. And from what I looked up, they actually should have to pay a fine if they're not removing those flags. So, I don't know, I think we should get a little more diligent about that. Other than that, keep Flagler Beach beautiful. Thank you.
Daryl, before you go anywhere, when you speak about the permits, can you give us an example of what you're talking about?
Well, we have a cleanup tomorrow with Alliance Financial, and they're paying a fee for, and Penny's aware of it. We talked about it a little bit. But I think when anyone asks to come into Flagler Beach and do a beach cleanup, do a park cleanup, unless they're asking us to stop traffic, unless they're asking to use Veterans Park all day. And even that, I think, we should get behind them. I really think, we shouldn't be charging people to come here and volunteer their time.
Is the permit for the beach cleanup?
It's special use permit as well.
What's she got, Penny?
So it was a special event application from Alliance Financial, and they called and told us that they do a volunteer effort every year, something different this year. The garbage pickup on the beach were great. If you have a not-for-profit organization you can partner with to waive the fee, or do you want to go before the commission and ask for the fee to be waived? The staff doesn't have authority to waive fees that have been set by the commission. They didn't want to do it in fact. So we've got emails, tracked it, we've tried many ways to get them where it was at no cost. We appreciate it. We can't make rules. You guys do.
Okay, that's good info. I wasn't sure what specific, was for. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else for public comment?
Paul McKicker, 351 Palm Circle. I wasn't going to say anything, but the first point that Mr. Reynolds brought up is something that I would love to see as a goal for the commission, if you all think it's a worthy goal. It is related to events and how we can encourage more events in the city. I think you all know Flagler Beach kind of has a reputation of being kind of anti-events. It's hard. It can be expensive. There's lots of hoops you got to jump through. And special events within the city can be great to bring people in that aren't normally here to help support our businesses. But also as a resident, I love going and doing different stuff, whether it be a Corvette show or beach cleanup or whatever. I would just love to see a way to make it easier to encourage events to come here and add diversity and spice to our community, rather than making it really hard that we can't shut 2 roads down and they get scared and leave, and go somewhere else. So it's just something I've noticed the last 3 years here, and I'd love to see it be easier to hold events in this town. Good for everybody. Thanks.
Anyone else for public comment? Items not on the agenda? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. We'll start from the beginning. Chief, did you want to help us navigate bridge safety? Because I know this has been going on for a while, and it does seem to be increasing, where the protected sidewalk is being used for more and more for bikes and e-bikes. Is that like a sheriff's office thing or something?
No, our sidewalks aren't, e-bikes aren't supposed to be on any of our sidewalks here in Flagler Beach. That is enforceable. Because of the ordinance change that we went through, we are now implementing that into our system along with the fines, and we will start writing those citations.
Okay, well, that makes that easy. And we are within our, we'll call it jurisdiction to enforce the bridge?
We can be more restrictive, not less restrictive. So yes, we can do that.
Okay.
One thing just to remind on that ordinance that you did relax on where sidewalks, I think, out here, so unless the bridge is separate, we may want to readdress it if,
Well, I think what they're referring to is the bike lane on the bridge. And e-bikes technically are allowed in that lane.
no, I meant on the sidewalks. In this last ordinance revision, they actually relaxed the prohibition, the flat prohibition on sidewalks, and now it's just specified, because we had the boardwalk, not the boardwalk, but the out in front of the pier. So I think the ordinance that's changed to allow e-bikes on sidewalks now.
I have to go back. I just read it earlier today, and I think we're still restricting all on all sidewalks.
Okay.
I think they're restricted to roadways only.
And this is interesting because there's a bike lane on the bridge, plus there's the protected sidewalk. But this has been going on for years because the bike lane tends to not get swept off a lot. It's not preferable to bikers, so they want to use the sidewalk because it's cleaner, doesn't have gravel, they don't risk getting flat tires, whatever the reason is, or they feel it's safer, and then you end up having these pedestrian bike conflicts, and it definitely is increasing. I know it's just with general population.
Summer months, we always see an increase, especially amongst juveniles. And it's something that I was dealing with another, well, not even a citizen. We found out she didn't live in the city here, but I was addressing some of her concerns. And through that, we are going to work on a couple of operations that are coming up. I don't want to announce the dates, obviously, but we are planning a few things here for the summer when it's really busy. And we're going to start cracking down on this because we get continuous complaints, specifically towards e-bikes. And my philosophy is let's set the tone early in the summer. And there was just a post that went out on the city's Facebook page. I drew up a graphic, and it talks about the laws in Florida and the laws and ordinances here in Flagler Beach. So the first part of this is education, and then we're going right into enforcement. So, and we have made arrests on it. We have done confiscations on these e-bikes. It's an ongoing process, but we have been actively engaged in this so far.
Did y'all have any questions for Chief Liza?
I do. Well, I don't know if you'll know, but what's the schedule for DOT for their sweeping maintenance of the bridge? Because that's probably why a lot of the bikes don't ride on the bike lane, because there's trash,
It gets pretty rough.
get a flat tire or whatever, so they're going to be on the sidewalk. Should be a regular schedule for them.
I don't know offhand, but I'll send an email to FDOT and ask and express this concern is related definitely to the lack of sweeping, so I'll find out.
Any other questions for Commissioner Santor?
Well, I just have a comment. I would prefer if we do add the sidewalks to that ordinance to not allow the e-bikes on there, because I think currently as it's written, it's like 10th Street to 10th Street on A1A. And so we're encouraging e-bike use on the sidewalks as it stands now, I believe.
That went through second reading, did it not?
That's what I mean. That's before the last ordinance, we prohibited on all sidewalks. You heard public comment in the process of that, asking to allow them on sidewalks, and that's why I think that it was ultimately relaxed. If I remember that ordinance right, it was relaxed to allow them on sidewalks except for those designated as prohibited. So it flipped in how we were treating them.
But it went through second, which means it would have to come back. Which isn't impossible, it's just, now that we just locked it in, we're gonna have to change it. Did you want to take another look at that, or maybe we should just take a look at it first and then make a decision?
I mean, as long as what we currently went through second reading is still enforceable while we revisit that one part, then I don't see an issue with it. I would like to see it come forward.
You all good with that? Consensus on that? Okay, so we can take another shot at that? City Attorney, you good with that?
Fine.
Okay, any other questions for Chief while he's up there? Thank you, Chief. The other point that was brought up was all the surveying getting done on Flagler and through the intersection 100. City Manager.
That is related to FDOT's Sun Trail survey, so those are state-appointed surveyors that are surveying possible routes for the Sun Trail, which will extend from the southern city limits to the northern city limits. They have advised me that we asked for them to at least consider keeping the Sun Trail along the boardwalk. They indicated that that is not likely. We would end up with environmental issues and/or losing some of the parking. So they are looking at the alternative route at some point going off of South Ocean Shore over to South Flagler, up North Flagler to perhaps North 10th, and then back out to North Ocean Shore, A1A. So the state is funding all of that, and they're in the design process, and I can send the resident some of the information that they've shared publicly. I'll make sure I send it to him directly. But it's all state-related at state cost.
Got it. All right, so the next one, special permit to do a beach cleanup. So I guess that this has a couple questions built into it. Number one, how do we get around what we're facing right now? And I think fixing the special permit process might be a little easier. So there's been tons and tons of groups doing beach cleanups for years, a lot of them rather large groups. In this case, we have a group of unknown size, but they want to try to follow the rules, and now we're caught in the spiderweb of permitting. Did you have any thoughts on that? You want to take first stab at that, City Manager?
No, I would defer to Ms. Overstreet and Ms. Kuhn, who handle the special events.
Generally, when it's for a beach cleanup, the first thing do you want to partner with a not-for-profit for this? Just so they can waive those fees. We don't charge sanitation for it, the fees. There's usually no police, unless it was a huge group where they might need assistance with traffic crossing or something.
So if it was sponsored by a nonprofit.
Eventually, by someone else, took someone else's advice and partnered with Mr. Reynolds for this, but that was after she'd already paid. There's emails, I can share them.
Got it. So as long as they partner with Mr. Reynolds until there's a potential ordinance change, that's what they would have to do. They'd have to partner with All Stars, Mr. Reynolds, or somebody, or Flagler Strong.
Any not-for-profit,
Right.
501c3 would waive the application fee, and the application fee also comes with a 30% admin fee, and that if there's no application fee, there's no admin fee, so it wouldn't have cost them anything. And she, at that point, very nice lady, but she was adamant on Alliance Financing retaining the name of this. She said this is an annual project they do. It's something to better the community, and they wanted to keep their name on it, not be anyone else's. That was her issue with not going with a not-for-profit. They have it all over their website about the things they do every year. We tried to get her to share.
That makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, and also any agency can come before you, as was indicated, and ask for a waiver that you could grant, but you need 60 days for that
Yeah.
We would have done
Yeah.
it less than that time.
Right.
And we offered and offered and offered.
Okay, so I guess the only other potential piece of this is, how do y'all feel up here about, or even, City Manager Penny, how do y'all feel about tweaking the ordinance so we are not asking, like, let's say Tortugas, which is, I get that they're also Flagler Strong, but let's say that a restaurant wants to do a beach cleanup.
They have a itinerant merchant license. The application fee would not be there. You have to have a business license, a Flagler Beach business license, or a 501c3 to waive that application fee. We're waiving the other fees already because we do appreciate the garbage pickup. We see the benefit in it. We like it. We encourage it. We just, as staff, don't have authority to waive
Right.
rules you've set.
So we would have to tweak the rules a little bit. What's y'all's thoughts on that? Mr. Santori? No?
I'm fine with it.
Tweaking the rules a little bit. Let's say a business out in Benell wants to do a beach cleanup.
Sure, if they want to pick up garbage and, you know, and, I mean, beautify the city, I
Right.
don't see why we would make them, you know, run through hula hoops to get a permit and pay a fee just to do us a solid.
And just to clarify just a little bit, I mean, so you might even think, why are you even making them get a permit? It's more of a liability issue. So they come down, they step on a nail on a board, one of the people that's helping, whatever, it's a liability. It's that issue is why the permit is required.
So they sign a release of liability when they go through all that?
Provide insurance to the city, listing the city as additionally insured. And usually a business or a not-for-profit already has that in place. A group of, a high school group is probably not going to have that. At that point, we would ask them, say, hey, why don't you go to the school board, have the school board sponsor it. They provide that insurance. So we do try to work with them and give them ideas of ways they can do it. This particular group did not want to do that.
Okay, so y'all feel it's good the way it is, or it needs a change? Mr. Spradlin?
Well, for me, it sounds like this particular issue, we had an applicant that fell right between a bunch of cracks, which was they didn't want to wait. We probably would have given them a waiver, but they didn't want to wait. And because they wanted their website to just have their name only, they didn't want to share. I mean, it just seems like it would be tailored to solve a once-in-a-lifetime problem. I mean, it sounds like waivers are freely, well, it's not even a waiver. You don't have to have an application if you're a licensed business or a 501c3. Okay, so there would be no need to wait to come before us to waive a fee because there is no fee. So, I mean, it just seems like a lot of work to me to tackle something that doesn't really come up, although I know it came up this time. Y'all good with that?
I mean, I suppose they can always come forward later and have some kind of refund fee, so if they waited to the last minute and they wanted to come before us, they could request that we refund that fee.
I don't know if they can do it after the fact.
Yeah.
That gets sketchy.
We just slapped her on the agenda. I mean, it's not a lot of work for us to add an item like that to the agenda. Research, we've already done it, we already know what's going on. We've reviewed it.
Got it. Okay. I think we have a consensus on that. We'll just leave it as is. All right, next item was, the 5th of July cleanup with a commissioner type suggestion. Anybody want to tackle that one? Commissioner Sherman?
I'll double check my schedule, but I'm 90% likely I'll go ahead and be the cleanup commissioner that day if nobody else is available. So, Mr. Reynolds, you got me. I'll text you if anything comes up, but I'll be there. I can be there early too.
Okay. And the other item was utility flags, and I believe we already tackled that one in a previous meeting. City manager, we had a consensus and direction on that, right?
Correct, and we're working on whether we can, when people call in, you know, if we can charge a deposit for us to go out to the locates, or whether that's superseded by state statute. But we're trying to figure out what our options are to recoup those
costs or levy those fines.
And I believe there's verbiage in the contracts the city works out with our people that are getting them, right? That has something about that?
Correct, and that's what we're reviewing, how to better enforce that.
Okay. Final comment was about encouraging special events to the city. That's a pretty deep topic. This came up in a couple different years of strategic planning. I think this came up in strategic planning, but I don't think it hit any of the higher scores where it got retained into the strategic plan, did it?
That ordinance was just amended back in September. That was one of Catherine's requirements of the CDC grant, was that we amend our special events ordinance to make it easier. So she did it. It's the same to me.
And Mr. McKica, another good angle for that would be the CRA Advisory Board. Starting with them, because that's mostly business owners in the downtown district, and they can formulate a bunch of ideas or even a plan to present to commission too. And that might be a better approach, because I think if this body was to adopt it, then it's just going to get pushed right back down the CRA Advisory Board to then develop tactics and stuff. So I think just to bring it, maybe make it an item for the CRA Advisory Board, City Manager. That's all I have on notes for public comment. Do y'all have any questions or anything before we move on? Banners. So, I can't do much back and forth. What you got, Mr. Reynolds? Oh, banners on cars for parade. I'm not in the 4th of July parade. Are y'all good with that? Or did y'all have a
Unfortunately, I'll be out of town too, so.
I saw the artwork. How big is the banner?
I would probably, I tell you what, just to make this easier, each of y'all got to decide what theme you want for your own display with the cars. I would probably, encourage you guys to just reach out directly to Mr. Reynolds and kind of work on that.
I'm good.
Because I can't do it. I won't be in it. Commissioner Santori won't be in it. And just, and everybody has their own thoughts on stuff about that parade. And I'd let y'all individually, do that one.
What about any of the city vehicles? Can we put them on some of those?
I know traditionally sanitation trucks, at least one truck's been in the parade in previous years. It'd be good to have one in there. The best looking one, maybe put it on that. And other vehicles.
I know they use some of them to end up blocking the roads at the appropriate time, but I'll find out from.
Could be on those too.
Right.
Only takes a minute.
Right.
Okay. All right, we can't do it back and forth there.
With the theme, I was thinking fire trucks.
Well, City Manager, I'll let you tackle that, Mr. Reynolds direct. That'd be really a City Manager thing, versus us mandating city vehicles put banners on and stuff. Are y'all okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we got move on. Consent agenda. This is regular meeting minutes of May 28, 2026, and special meeting minutes of June 1st, 2026. Any questions about those minutes or comments? None? All right, minutes don't need public comment. So, all in favor of approving consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. What? Oh, yeah. Motion. I'm just jumping
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. All right, we will move to site plan application. This is for Flagler Beach Vacation Rentals at 1708 South Ocean Shore Boulevard. City Manager, is the city planner taking this one?
Yes.
All right, go ahead, city planner.
Mr. Barhow, there we are. Okay, here we go. This is a application for a, what are we calling this? The Oceanfront Vacation Rentals. It's located at 1708 South Oceanfront Boulevard. This is in the tourist commercial district. The existing conditions, it's a vacant lot. It's 9,174 square feet, a vacant undeveloped lot facing the South Ocean shore. And in accordance with Section 20202, the proposed parking area for guests was originally designed in the rear with access from the unimproved right-of-way and included 2 parking spaces for primary access from A1A. At the PARB regular meeting of February 2026, the PARB recommended the City Commission approve the site plan. At the March 3rd, 26th regular meeting, the City Commission voted the applicant return to the PARB with an amended design to include the parking area to be in the front with access from A1A. So the project description, Mr. Barnhill did make additions to the design by adding dormers and relocated the parking plan from the rear to the front of the lot with access off of A1A. It's a 3-story, 8 one-bedroom vacation rental hotel. The building is 2,558 square feet. The building height is 34.5 feet. There's 10 by 20 parking spaces, including 1 ADA access off A1A. The delivery parking is in the rear. We have a 24-foot wide commercial access off of A1A. The plans do say 26 feet, so the condition for approval could be a maximum of 24 feet versus the 26 feet. That's the requirement, is 24 feet, not 26. So it meets the definition for a hotel, and the proposed project meets the permitted uses in tourist commercial as prescribed in Section 204.028. The major site plan was required, which he submitted, and the proposed vacation rental is compliant with applicable land development code and meets policies A.1, 1.3, and policy 1.4.4 of the comprehensive plan. And staff recommends that the City Commission approve the final site plan for 1708 South Ocean Shore Boulevard as it's a permitted use in tourist commercial with the following conditions. That a 6-foot masonry along the south side of the property be reflected, which I think it has been on your site plan, that the property screening for sanitation, HVAC be reflected, that the rear delivery parking area be labeled on the site plan, with additional conditions of screening the rear parking area as per the code. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, questions for the city planner before we bring the applicant up? Mr. Santori.
Yes, we discussed some of this earlier, and you mentioned the 26-foot apron, and then our code references that it's a maximum of 24. So we would, if we approved, we would amend that.
Correct.
Okay. The south wall location. So according to our code, there is no offset required to the property line.
That's correct.
So it doesn't matter whether that's the downtown commercial area or any vacation, any tourist commercial area.
That's correct. If it's a retaining wall, there's a code that it come in 5 feet. It's not a retaining wall.
Okay. And the alley side screening, I brought this up. Maybe Mr. Smith can help me on this. So section 2.6.2.1 and 7 in parentheses requires parking lots and vehicular use areas to be screened from all abutting properties and rights of way. And I believe that rear area is a traffic area. So would that require another, wall and separator screening?
That's a good question because that's where the delivery trucks are going to be. We can take a look at the code and see what we can implement for screening from the parking lots there.
Tell me again what the code says.
Requires parking lots and vehicular use areas to be screened from all abutting properties and rights of way.
Does it say how to screen?
In a different section, it does.
Is it landscaping or is it a wall is what I'm asking? Because usually those are landscaping, those are not wall screening.
I would imagine it would be the same for the front, whatever was used there.
Well, with the city lots, the city has used both fencing and landscaping, both. So I'm assuming that both of them are in there.
Well, usually it maybe the fencing may be there for security and then landscaping for screening. Because usually, the reason I say is because usually when you're screening a wall, that's why you don't see just rows and rows of wall. Because often there's a governmental reason for that type of screening to not be wall, because otherwise you have just lines of walls running through your commercial district instead of vegetation, which is a softer form of screening.
All right, so I think vegetation is one of the options, but I don't have the code in front of me. Thank you.
All right, any other comments for city planner before we bring applicant up? City planner, the only other question I had is just the height. So I saw this is 40 and change. We changed it, and off the top of my head, I don't remember, and city attorney might be able to help, or city planner. We did hard cap that number, where we're not using just roof pitch anymore. That was part of that ordinance change, so we couldn't.
It's never just been roof pitch. It was that was not the most recent change. From the time that it was originally written, it factored in for the pitched roofs it being an average from peak to bottom of eave.
Right, but then there was a cap on that as well.
40. If I remember, it was 45.
Yes.
42.
Yeah, is it
Almost
42? I know it was 45. That's the thing.
Yeah, 40 to 42, close to almost 43, I think. But that's the rise over run,
Okay. It's 42.
so it's good to go, yes.
Correct. I just want to make sure we're in compliance with that.
Yeah, we are.
Any other questions for planner before we bring applicant up? All right, applicant, come on up.
That's fine.
Now, but to go through this, just kind of point this over that way, and it'll roll through.
Yes.
Just forward, down is moving forward.
Okay, down is up. Okay, so we're reconsidering something that we talked about before, so I'll try not to go through everything. I will not go through everything. We'll try to focus mostly on the site plan, which I think was the concern the last time. So we've got a vacation rental building proposal and a tourist commercial lot. 3-story, 34.5 feet high, 8 one-bedroom apartments. The Par Board previously reviewed and forwarded to the City Council. The City Council had concerns about the parking in the rear. We revised the site plan, moved from the rear to the front, went back to the Par Board. The Par Board reviews the revised site plan, made a few recommendations for additional changes, all of which were accepted. One was a concrete block wall on the south boundary. It's, I believe, 140 foot long. It's a structural wall. It has poured cells every 3 feet with steel. We're going to do it. I think you should look at that requirement. We have a residential structure, vacation rental, next to a residential structure that appears to have been divided into an upper and lower. And we had proposed a wooden wall, which would have screened, I think appropriately. The idea of having a structural concrete block wall, 6 foot high for 100 and something feet, and then 4 foot high for another 25 feet, might have been appropriate if we had a auto garage with a paint booth that might explode and create a hazard. I personally don't see the reason for requiring a concrete block wall to separate two residential
structures. One is commercial, the other probably isn't, but that's just a comment. And we also have screening for all of the AC units. We moved them to the south wall so that you can't see them of the building, and screen them. We have signage for exiting the parking lot onto A1A. And we do show an additional parking spot in the rear at the request of the power board. I started to label the big truck that's parallel parked to be Keel Plumbing, because Glen Keel has a really big truck. But we've got plenty of room in the back where you can have service parking or loading and unloading parking. So I think it's a entirely functional site plan. Here is the site plan. You've got a version on the plans that I gave to you at the back that you can see things in better detail. But we have 10 parking spots in the front, 1 handicap, 9 regular. We show 1 parking spot in the rear. The air conditioners have been moved to the south wall of the building. The trash is in the south area. It's completely enclosed. So that's the site plan. So we've gone through this before. We did add 2 dormers on the front of the building in order to comply better with the architectural guidelines for the city. So the redesign of the site plan has moved the parking from the back to the front. We have service parking in the rear. We added 2 dormers on the east side. We added masonry wall on the southern boundary. We moved the air conditioner units to the south wall of the building and screened them. As far as I know, we've met the land use regulations, so happy to take any questions.
All right, questions for applicant while he's up. Commissioner Spradley.
First of all, Mr. Barnhill, I appreciate the fact that you took the comment suggestions that were made here and have implemented them, so I appreciate that. My question actually is for the planner when we're talking about the wall, the structured wall, and the sort of thing that the power board has recommended approval contingent upon that. What is the reason for the wall being composed as it is in response to what Mr. Barnhill was having to say?
It's required in the code.
Okay.
That's all you got?
Yeah.
Okay. Other questions for the applicant?
Yeah, the parking lots, they're all gonna be the open cell pavers with rock, is that right? Kinda like the sidewalk out here? The triangles
What, one more time?
or diamond? The open cell pavers?
Yes, there are, everywhere you see pavers, they're open cell pavers with gravel below to facilitate drainage. That's correct.
Yeah. So I was looking at the site plan, I can't see any flow lines for elevations of where the stormwater is gonna run.
Yeah. The civil
Drainage
engineer
guy.
that we will get will design exactly what needs to be done, and we'll do it exactly the way they require or recommend.
Oh, so we haven't seen that yet.
We have not, I'm assured that sandy soil and you can find ways to deal with the water for sure.
Well, it all has to do with the pervious and impervious for the pavers.
Yeah, the pavers are pervious. They'll be the same ones that you got right outside your door here, with gravel below.
Yeah, and the city parking lots that we've done, whichever ones.
Yeah, I think it's the same as the Compass Hotel had in the back with the pavers, and I believe they, have water retention below.
Yeah, they have R tanks below their parking lot. Because regular pavers, like you would see in the driveway, those are impervious. Those aren't pervious pavers. You watch the water runs right off of it. It's,
We do have a note on the site plan that addresses the point you're asking,
okay.
saying they will be, pervious.
Something that might help with this one, city attorney, if you look at what is labeled as the applicant's information, page 15 of 79, I think this might be one of the curveballs here is DG, the applicant has labeled driveway paver / grade gravel. The issue is it's not specifying open cell pavers, it's saying driveway pavers, and I think that's where the main concern is. I didn't know if you had any recommendations as far as, verbiage or anything, because driveway pavers is pretty broad and most driveway pavers are not pervious.
You can, if you want, you can include it in a condition, if the motion is to approve, include it in that a condition that the driveway pavers must be pervious, which you've already have in the record they are, or will be, but they open cell pervious pavers.
Right.
Just include that in the condition.
Okay, Commissioner Sherman, you had a question?
Yeah, kind of what you were mentioning here about the different types of pavers and things like that that would be going in. Mr. Martin, what's that material that they're using down on Oak Place that when you're going to be redoing that road, would that be something we could implement? I know you're not an engineer, but would that be something, if a condition of approval, that we could put something like that down as the underlayment, again, to maybe address some of the concerns of stormwater runoff or anything like that?
That's the geocell that, and whether you want to be specific, as the city attorney said, or whether you want to at least leave it so that staff has to review and approve the nature of the pavers or the conditions, whether it's the geocell or the open cell. If you want to leave it open-ended enough that city staff can review and approve it, and we can at least share that technology with Mr. Barnhill, and he can make the decision on how he wants to pursue it.
Okay.
And Mr. Varnhill, you had some information?
I do. On the larger plan, or first I apologize, the site plan and the PowerPoint doesn't have all the information that's on the site plan and the big plans that you have a copy of. And on the larger copy, it says driveway pavers with open cells filled with gray gravel. So we have every intention of doing that and are aware that that's very important to do.
So, city attorney, when it comes to conflicting documents, any cleanup we need, or is that okay?
Because what you're approving is site plan, not necessarily plans, I would still include the condition in your approval, just to make clear on the record that you expect those to be open cell pavers.
Okay, got it. And you're already there, so we're on the same page. We're just making sure that there's no loose ends.
100%.
Any other questions for the applicant while he's up? Mr. Santori.
Yeah, so I do have some concerns with the south wall location. I mean, I have concerns why a wall is required to begin with, but, because we do require one to be right on the property line, I did a quick look to see what other jurisdictions are doing, and they're showing them at, between 7 and 15 feet, off the property line, and not right up against it. But I can see the necessity for it in some aspects, like for music and other things, but I mean, is there any room there to move that off the property line at all? Any offset?
The wall, as I understand it, the footer for the wall has to be on the property. And so the concrete block wall will be 8 inches or a foot into the property. That'll be perhaps 6 feet between the building wall and the concrete block wall, which I hope is adequate.
And then I have a question on the alley side screening, and I don't have it in front of me to see what's required as far as possibly vegetation. But according to the plan I see, there is room for parking in the back, which I know may be access vehicles for work you need done, but I can also foresee it being used for possible, during Biketoberfest when you have trailers and such needing to park back there. So, you know, those are exactly the reasons why we need screening. And so I'm not sure if there's a way to add some screening there and, you know, a driveway apron of
24.
20, it doesn't have to be concrete, but, you know, an apron of some sort,
We-
24 feet or less.
We moved the, air conditioners away from the back wall because you would have had to provide screening so you couldn't see the air conditioners from the rear. The area in the back has about 12 feet where you would be able to parallel park. If you're going to be able to do that, it would be very cumbersome to have a wall that separated the alleyway from the area where service vehicles and others were parallel parking. I do believe we have an attractive building. There are other attractive buildings along the alleyway. If I'm understanding correctly, you're asking whether or not the open area between the vegetation at the north and the trash cans at the south, which are screened, should be further screened?
What I mean, sir, is, so if you needed to add a screen to the west side of the property for the vehicular use, you may not possibly need that additional screen for the trash corral area. Obviously, if that sufficiently covers the view of that, then I don't see a need to cover both. But according to the code, there needs to be screening for vehicular use, which that is back there.
I've very much tried to accommodate every recommendation that either the commission or the power board made.
And I do appreciate that.
And I will continue to do so.
Thank you. And I realize you had to switch the plans from the rear to the front, and, you know, that parking spot wasn't there previously and is now, and or else I would have caught that in a previous revision, but I just wanted to bring that up. Thank you.
Okay.
So, city planner, to further that discussion a little bit, as it sits right now, that west side parking area, in order for it to be in compliance with the code the way it's written, needs to have screening along the west boundary, correct?
It says screening from vehicular use. That's really a service delivery parking area in the back, not regular use parking. That's in the back, and it might be hard to screen it further. Because how would the vehicles delivery get there?
So, city attorney, let's say potentially this sort of evolves into a parking area, so to speak. What is, that would put it out of compliance, correct?
It's not, if it evolves into one, or is it being shown on the site plan as one? Because I think it's already, the site plan has been amended to show it as a small parking area. Am I misunderstanding the area you're talking about?
No, we're talking about the same one, the one on the west side.
So it's not evolving into, it has become,
so it
at least limited
needs
parking
screening
area.
then, right?
It needs screening in compliance with the code, correct?
Right. Okay. I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with that one. So that would need to have some form of
I
screening.
think part of the point that's being made, and this is why I asked questions that I did on, when we're talking about rights of way, we're never talking about a full complete screen, because there has to be access. So you're not blocking view of. Usually it's a knee screen. If anything, it's a headlight screen.
Right. And, you know, come off each side with a open center so you can have one person come in, they can get out, another person come in, they can get out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it could be that or one just larger one in the middle. I mean, depending on how
Right.
they want to do their site plan. And again, Mr. Barnard mentioned the screening for the air conditioners. If this screening that hides the parking area could possibly hide also that trash receptacle area, I believe. At least parts of it.
Got it. Okay. So let's have a discussion a little bit here in a few minutes on the screening. Questions for the applicant while he's up here, though? Anybody have questions for Mr. Barnhill? Okay, Mr. Barnhill, you got any further comments for us? We'll deliberate, okay? All right, thank you. All right, so discussion. We'll just tackle the first thing. There's, excuse me, a small conflict with the west side of the property and screening, because we do have vehicular access / parking area. It does need to have screening of some sort. Are you all comfortable with the city planner and the applicant getting that in compliance together, or do we need to see it again? You all have any thoughts on that? Commissioner Sherman?
I personally probably just with this whole project, I'd probably like to see it come before us again, just to be safe, to make sure that nothing, is missed. And I don't know what, I mean, that's just my opinion, but I don't know what the others may think of that. Just to ensure that we have a record of it and it's out there, and, that's just me.
Mr. Santori, you look like you have something.
I'm kind of torn on the issue, but would, maybe like to hear what public comment has to say first, if
Right.
you're able to.
Okay. Penny?
Just, any, site plan, variance, special exception, I create a order for that, and it has all your requirements are listed in that, and that document is recorded at the courthouse and associated with that parcel number. So I don't know if that helps you make.
That does. I just don't want to see what happened across the, we knew what happened with the hotel, so that's why I was thinking of bringing it back. That's all.
Got it. Any other thoughts on the screening west side of property?
So, can I ask a question to Mr. Santori? So I think that you're quoting, section 504.00. Is that the code? Perimeter screening all parking lots and vehicular use areas shall be screened from all abutting properties and the rights of way?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm not really sure this is really vehicular use. There's only room for really one vehicle, one service vehicle.
I mean, I guess, I don't know the interpretation, maybe Mr. Smith can help, but if a vehicle is going to be parked there to do work, it's parking, I believe. I mean, it's not parked on, South 17th, it's parked on their property.
All right, further discussion on that? Okay. City manager, do you have anything? Okay. All right, so discussion on the rest of the property before we open this up to public comment. Any comments on anything but that? No. All right, let's open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item, please come up and just start with your name and address for the record.
Thanks for having me. Bob Harms, 109 South 17th Street, adjacent property. The property's been in my family for 70 plus years. I think Mr. Barnhill bought it for my uncle. I just happen to be down here on vacation with my family, so I'm kind of unprepared. But I want to discuss, my family owns a lot north of that. What happens if I or my kids ever want to build a house there with screening? So I would like to think about that a little bit and have you guys consider if that's an issue with the air conditioners or anything like that.
On the north side of the property?
North side, vacant lot.
Okay. All right, the air conditioners are all on the south side of the property. But as far as screening goes, there is plans for screening on, what we'll do is we'll answer all the questions once public comment's done.
Okay.
Did you have anything else you want us to consider?
No, sir, thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Charles Bellison, 1705 South Central. My concern is they're putting a wall up to one side. What about his property line? What's going to be there? A concrete wall? Or why are you putting a wall on one side and not to protect a vacant lot that may be built on? And again, my concern totally is the access with the garbage trucks coming through, delivery trucks. Have you seen the alleyway? It's a mess. I have my propane guy that comes in, which I have a 150-gallon propane tank right centered to where these cars are going to come in and out. And I know it was brought up that it was prior to this that the propane tank was put in, but it's still there. That's got to be a concern. Are they going to do something to, in case a car comes straight through my fence, to hit it? That alleyway should not be access to vehicles. It's not meant for it. You know, and we brought this up at the last meeting and whatnot. So delivery trucks are going to get stuck back there and all. And that's my main concern. It's not for cars and trucks to go through. The front entrance should be the access. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment?
Brett Spitali, Ocean Palm Drive. Just curious, the 2 dormers that were added, they're just cosmetic and nothing living behind or no open space behind it? Because effectively it looked like it was a 4th floor. But that's all. Just a quick question.
Yeah, Mike Archer. There's a lot of confusion again. You all seem to be confused. Okay, the building lot, the lot that's being built on is 70 feet wide. There's a 8-inch or 6-inch, whatever it is, masonry wall on the south property line. So 8 inches or a foot, whatever. You got a 12-inch footing, you got an 8-inch wall or whatever it is. That wall, the south face of that south wall has to be on the property enough so that it can be maintained without getting onto the residential property to the south. Okay, and it is a code requirement, so there's no getting out of it. Another thing that keeps being brought up is that this is a multifamily residence to the south of this lot. It is not. I spoke to the owner yesterday in Kentucky. I said, why is this listed as a multi-use property on the website, on the tax appraiser's website? He said when it was built by a woman who was going to have her mother live downstairs. So they put an outside stair to the 2nd floor. And when he bought it, he put an interior stairway in because it's a single-family residence. He just didn't change the designation. So finally, once and for all, it's not a multifamily building. Not that it matters. It's kind of irrelevant, but it just keeps being brought up that way. Okay. If there's a requirement for screening along the west property line, it's not 12 feet to the building. It's 17 feet to the building. So you could have a wall with an opening in it large enough to drive a truck through. That would be partial screening, which would be better than no screening at all. The garbage bins are shown as being enclosed with cyclone fencing. If they have slats, then it's obscure. If not, it's not. That's a simple matter. There is a requirement to have 11 parking spaces on this project. In the last PAR board meeting, that's what was discussed. 5 plus 5 is 10 plus the disabled space. That's why it's necessary, not an option, it's necessary to have a space, single space. And this was brought up, and it was said, 2 spaces, no 1 space. Well, there's more than 1 space, enough room for more than 1 car to park there. But it is a single space because that's what's required to pass the code. It's 5 and 5, and you still have to have the disabled. So there's 9 and 1 in the front on the east side of the building, not the west side, and there's 1 in the back. Now, something that keeps getting overlooked here, because I don't think you've ever looked at the drawing. There is no way to get from the front of this building, the now east side of it, to the west side to go to the elevator, unless you walk around the building. You're going to carry your luggage past all these air conditioners that just got moved with, since the last PAR board meeting, those air conditioners were on the west side. Now they're on the south side.
That seems a little strange to me that that just got changed without anybody knowing it. I only saw it on the drawing yesterday when I looked. So there's things changing, moving around after things have been approved, and then it's come to you for approval, so now you're approving something that was not approved before. I think that's bad form. Okay?
Mike, you
Now,
can wrap up
good.
your time.
I'll go for it. So as far as that parking goes, that's going to be used for service vehicles, for the air conditioners. It's also going to be used for loading and unloading of the residences, luggage, and so on and so forth on a regular basis. I can just about guarantee you. So it needs to be screened. You could put a hole in a wall to drive through. But this building's set up to be accessed from the west side.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment on this agenda item? All right, seeing no one, we'll close public comment. All right. Applicant, you want to respond to it? Or city attorney, what you got? Turn your mic on.
Vehicular use is broadly, the way it's applied is broadly, so it's anywhere where vehicles traverse. So it would include both the navigation as well as the parking. It is vegetation or hardscape wall. It is knee wall. It's 30 inches, and it could be vegetation.
And is this item quasi where we get an applicant response? Okay. Mr. Barnhill, do you want to respond to any public comments or give us any additional information?
My understanding is that 8 one-bedroom units requires 9 parking spots, including one handicap. We've got 10 parking spots in the front. It was the power board that one of the power board members said, well, if you're going to have service vehicles coming to the back, you need to show one in the back. As far as I know, you only need 10. You only need 9. I think we got an extra one in the front. Now, the city planner can confirm how many you need, and we're certainly going to make every effort to comply with whatever that answer is. Now, in terms of access, you've got the parking lot in the front. On the north side of the building, there's a concrete walkway all the way around, unobstructed. There are no air conditioners. You can roll a wheelchair all the way around the building, come in the back door. Or you can go in the front door and go right straight through the building and in the center. So there's no problem with accessing the elevator in the back, either around the building or through the building or coming into the back and unloading and going in the back door. So, and if this commission believes that I need to build a wall, if it's 4 foot or 6 foot, so long as I can leave an adequate space where service vehicles can come in on the back side, that's fine. One last thing. If you drive down the alleyway between 17th and 18th Street, you're going to find there's at least 5 or 6 houses where the parking garage accesses off of the alleyway. So you have people traveling up and down the alleyway all the time. Now, is it a great drive-through? No, but it is accessed by the people who live on that area.
All right, thank you. Okay, discussion. And just off of, well, first of all, did y'all have any questions or comments about public comment? Because I had a couple notes. Commissioner Santori, we'll just run down the line. Commissioner Santori, you good?
Well, I think Mr. Smith could probably clarify, but the fence on the north side or the wall isn't required because it was a use. I mean, can you explain that again from, I know last time you...
Talking about the wall that divides the property from adjacent property?
Right, when it would be required and when it wouldn't.
When it's commercial to residential is when is what triggers it.
So in this scenario where we have a residential lot on the north side, you were speaking of how not what it's zoned for, but use.
Right, your code does not distinguish zoning. By zoning, your code distinguishes by use, or your code distinguishes by zoning and use. But so if you have commercial adjacent to a residential use, your code triggers, that's what triggers that code. It is the use, not the zoning, that triggers it.
And then afterwards, if that residential unit was built, the fence wouldn't be required by Mr. Barnhill, or I'm sorry, a wall to be built by Mr. Barnhill at that point, because the commercial structure is already there.
Correct, and it doesn't work the opposite way. Residential doesn't have to screen itself from commercial.
Okay, Commissioner Spradley.
There's a factual dispute that may have some bearing here. We've heard from Mr. Barnhill 10 spaces for parking, one of which is for disabled, and then we had a resident say 10 plus 1. So we need to get to the bottom of that. One of them's right, one of them's not right.
All right, City Planner.
Thank you. So, Section 20602 for parking for hotels, 1 per bedroom, plus 1 for each 5 units or portion thereof, plus his ADA. So he meets the requirement.
Okay, and just for the record, how many, according to that formula in the rooms, how many parking spaces is he required to have?
10.
Got it, and he meets that.
Yes, sir.
But that's a 9 plus 1. It's not a 10 plus 1, correct? Because he has 9 plus a handicap. So what is that formula?
1 per room, which he has 8 rooms, plus 1 per every 5, so that's 1 more, that's 9. He has an extra 1, that's 10. He can use any of those one per room and 1 plus 1 for 5 for ADA, so he's actually 1 above.
Okay. And Commissioner Spradley, what other?
That was my main one.
Okay, Commissioner Sherman.
I think the point here, back in the back alleyway, that's a very tight space back there, and I think there's some points that resonated with me back, in that area. I don't know how many of you have traversed that area. I don't know. I do have concern. I understand the point of having a service vehicle, being able to, park back there and having people being able to, unload their belongings. I don't know if we would be able to potentially have a service, I don't know if I don't know the setbacks and everything like this, but if we could shift the building back a little bit to not even have a parking spot back there, and have a service parking spot in the front, just due to the fact of, the complexity of anybody trying to traverse that alleyway, especially in that stretch of the alleyway there, it's very narrow. When we're talking about the screening and things there in that back alleyway, just thinking of a vehicle trying to, trying to pull in there when we're talking about having, almost obstacles for someone to safely park, and, and then that runs the risk of, potentially, knocking out a fence, or, because there's a fence there. I'm just visualizing what I, can recall from that alleyway. There's a fence pretty close to where this spot would be. So that would be just my suggestion. If, I would think I'd feel a little more comfortable if that would even be any possibility. I don't know if the city planner could elaborate on that if we were to, potentially shift the building back a little bit, as far as if that would meet setback requirements with the code and everything, and moving that spot up there and have, like, you see it all the time. You see buildings, they have a loading spot or whatever, in an apartment complex or hotels, they have that, and, then you have somebody that also, you have a sidewalk. And Mr. Barnhill mentioned you could walk through the front of the building or the side of the building there to access the elevator.
City Planner?
I think that the site plan that includes that service area is probably a good design and a good long-term for the hotel. And who knows, in many years to come, alleyways may be improved, and so it may not be an issue in the long run to have one area set aside for service vehicles.
What do you think, Commissioner Sherman?
I'd have to push back on that. Again, I just think that stretch, anybody that's been back on that, that specific stretch of the alleyway is just, it's just a different alleyway of, if anybody has walked our alleyways or driven our alleyways around the city, you'll see that that's just one narrow area, especially in the area of where this hotel's going. I'm all about, maybe eventually having the alleyways improved there and things, but I just don't see that significant of an improvement, for that area to make it, safety is my concern here with that, having that parking spot back there, just for the fact of the narrowness of that stretch of the alleyway. So that's kind of my thoughts, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Cunningham.
It is very narrow, and I can't remember the fellow's name that came up, may have been Paul. a little over 17 feet from the edge of the right-of-way of the alley to the building. Seems like if it could be pushed back, because what that's gonna do, you see one truck that's parallel parked there, but smaller cars, they could pull straight in there and have plenty of room. You could line cars all the way up. I think that could be why the screening is what that purpose is for.
I'm not sure how moving it might impact the size of the parking lot for 10 by 20 and to be able to have room to maneuver vehicles coming in and out.
No,
And we only identified the back area because the part asked us to.
with 17 feet, you're gonna have cars parked that are staying at the hotel. Getting stuck in the alleyway. It's really loose sand.
What else you got, John?
That's it.
Okay, I'm hearing so far more or less a consensus of screening needs to happen on the west side of the property. Is that what I'm hearing?
Well, I'm looking at the numbers with the screening, and if you look at the top part of the site plan here, I mean, I'm assuming additional screening, if it matches exactly what's on the north side, could be around 3.5 feet. Because once you subtract 3.5 feet from the 17 feet and 4 inches, plus the 5 feet for the door that opens up, I mean, we're leaving less than 9 foot wide possibly for a parking space, and I'm not sure what the requirement would be, but that's not for us to figure out. I imagine it's for the planner.
It would be planner, city attorney.
Direction you give. If you were
Sounds
to
like it's probably gonna need to come back.
approve with that condition, then that's where it would land.
Right. Yeah, when I just look at this, it seems like if you were to have screening in the center of the west side of the property and it kind of be almost like a pass-through, going one side out the other type thing. Again, I'm not the planner, I'm not the designer. If y'all are okay with it, it could be a consensus that just applicant can work with the city planner and bring it back, and the body can have the final say on that. The other thing I saw, and this bothered me, and I'm glad Brett brought it up, was the dormers that keep appearing. So what we're looking at on the TVs right now, this is the property without the dormers. But then I'm looking at the packet and I see dormers again. The dormers are back. And there's different versions. And I'm understanding from what I heard that, Mr. Barnhill, it is your intent to put dormers back on? Just yes or no is fine.
The large plans that, the larger set of plans that I've given you, show the dormers. Have you got them?
Okay.
Chair Cooley, the dormers are at the request of the bar to meet the guidelines.
So the dormers on the east side are definitely going to be there. That's the view, that's the plans, that are drafted here. That's the way it's gonna look, or that's the way we propose to have it look.
Okay, that's the information I needed. All right, thank you. City Attorney. I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with this one. You know, everyone is hypersensitive about height and all that. So we got dormers pushing up above that third story. You know, there's concern, public, about they could become functional. But my question is a little bit deeper than that. I didn't think that I thought we stopped the adding of architectural elements over a height unless it became part of screening. Or
cap.
Correct.
Right.
And I don't think that, based on my understanding, and that's what I need you for, is those dormers could not be added there just because of the way the ordinance is written. Because they don't meet the requirement, I don't believe.
Why would they not meet the requirement?
Because you're just adding architectural elements above.
But it has to be below the hard cap.
Is it? I thought we had a different
below the
line
hard
for that.
cap. No, that was part of the hard cap. That was part of the reason for the hard cap, was because you had the architects in the room reminding that it was important to have those elevated architectural features because that's what breaks up that massing according to the architect. So no, they would not be. It would be above the peak that we'd be talking about, those types of elements.
So I just want to give it to y'all. Y'all okay with the dormers?
Yeah.
Because they've been there, they've disappeared. Okay. I want to make sure everybody's okay with that. This has also been brought up on numerous properties. The placement of a wall where it can be maintained. This has come up numerous times over the years. Does this meet that? We've had this issue where block walls are being put right up on property lines, and I don't know what precedent has been set for the city. This has happened recently, but there needs to be a way for that wall to be maintained. Or city manager, you've been very close to this. Where did this end up?
The property in question, the wall is built exceptionally close to the property line, but he is pledged, the developer of those properties has pledged that he will finish those walls, and he will maintain those walls, including, if necessary, the use of scaffolding on his side of the property, extending over the wall itself and working vertically on those walls. So that developer has pledged that he will finish and maintain those walls.
So this wall placement city planner is in compliance with all our codes.
Yes, sir. Section 20504, it says located completely within the limits of the non-residential property so as to provide ample area for maintenance and repair. So it's coming in a foot, according to Mr. Barnhill.
Okay. Okay. All right, so that leaves the only discussion to be finalized is what's the pleasure of the board on west side of the property of screening? What do y'all propose? Go ahead, Commissioner Santori. You're looking at me like you got something.
Yes, I would like to see screening on that side.
Okay, and do you want to see this come back, or are you okay with the planner working with the applicant to achieve that?
After listening to what Commissioner Sherman had to say, I see the necessity for me to have it come back one more time. Hopefully
Okay.
just one more time.
So how is that motion going to look, Drew?
If there is a desire by the commission to see it again, the right motion would be to table, and be table date certain.
Okay. All right. Further discussion on this?
You brought up the south wall, and, I am concerned with the word ample. It means more than enough, I think, or more than enough room to service it. I mean, it seems like it's up to our discretion as a board to figure that out.
Based on the evidence that's presented to you.
If you have a neighbor that is gonna say you're not coming on my property to service the other side of the wall,
And I think you have to assume, I mean, I think the way that code is written, that should be interpreted to mean ample from your own property. You should not have to rely on neighbor, because even the neighbor there today says, well, I'd give them permission, the neighbor there a year from now might not. So I think you have to contemplate that being serviced from the property itself.
air rights too, right?
What do you mean by, I mean, I know what you mean by air
You're
rights,
gonna hang
but
over the wall, you're gonna be in their space.
not necessarily. If you're coming over the wall and you're staying in your own space, you would not be in their air rights. So it's feasible. I can imagine a situation, and I've seen it done, walls painted from the opposite side. But if you've got a crane and you're going over, then yes, you'd be invading the air rights.
So technically, they would have 8 inches, because I believe that's what the footer of the wall was, from property line inwards, correct? Is that what it was, city planner?
It was closer to 11, almost a foot. With the footer, it was, let me see, I thought I wrote it down. So yes, a footer and then the concrete wall, so it would be about almost a foot in. That would be a hard requirement for other properties that are commercial that have 50 feet.
I'm not sure I'm well versed enough on what the ample requirement is. I think Ormond requires 7 or 15 feet, and Palm Coast, or the county, I think, requires 15 feet.
You have to rely on your own code, and your code just says ample.
Right. We also have to consider this as a commercial district, or, excuse me, commercial tourist district. But there's also a home that's been there for 70-plus years as a residential.
My 2 cents on the maintenance of the wall, I think it's workable. We have other properties right now that are going through that exact same thing. I'm a lot more concerned about the west side of the property, just in respect for the neighbors and the alley and the traffic and how that flows, just like we were from the beginning. Not to minimize that wall, but based off of the findings of what the staff is going through now with that exact same scenario on other properties, it seems like that is a workable number, is my understanding of it. This is not out of bounds, because we have other properties that have the same exact thing where the neighbor's like, you're not coming on my property, you're going to make this work, and then they have that space to do it. And so you're talking building scaffolding and working vertical. City manager.
Yeah, I was digging and finding an email from the developer of the other site where this is going on, and this was a email from late March. The stucco, he had talked about making a stucco wall. The stucco shall be applied with a hopper, and the first coat shall be troweled with the derby to purge the block base, and the second coat shall be finished using a plastic float. All this work shall be done off of a ladder and or scaffolding on our side of the property without stepping on the neighboring property. The paint shall be applied with a paint sprayer and or roller. This shall also be accomplished working off a ladder and or scaffolding on our side of the property without stepping on the neighboring property. The future maintenance of the wall on the neighbor's side shall be cleaned with a pressure washer while working again off of a ladder and or scaffolding on our side of the property. Should paint touch-up be needed, it will be following the same plan as above. So one developer currently active in the city has described how he can do it with minimal clearance.
Right. But also keep this in mind, if this does get tabled, that gives Mr. Barnhill, city planner, time to work on backups to the backup plan, if need be. But further discussion or look for motion?
Motion to table.
Second the motion.
Be date certain, correct?
Yes. Anyone with that?
The next meeting is June 25th,
Just doing
and after that is July 11th.
Motion to.
No, because
July,
July 9th.
July 9th through June 26th, and then it's.
I'll amend the motion to table to the July 9th date, give them a little time.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. We already done public comment. City Attorney?
Just to clarify, so that's July 9th, table to July 9th at 5:30 here in this room?
Yes. Thank you.
All right. Penny, if you can call the roll, please.
Commissioner Santori,
Yes, the table?
Commissioner Spradley,
Yes to the motion.
Commissioner Sherman,
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham,
yes.
Chair Cooley.
Yes, the motion. Motion passes unanimous.
And just for clarification, it's for the screening on the west side that we're going to address.
That's the main thing.
Yeah, the 24 feet in the
I'm
front.
okay, 24-foot.
And make sure, probably just as discussion, make sure south wall's good too.
10-4.
All right, we'll move on to item, can't read my own writing. Item B, site plan application. This is for 2205 North Ocean Shore Boulevard. City planner.
Yes, sir. The applicant is Brent and Evelyn Crago, 133 Bridgeport Road, Daytona Beach. Thank you, Mr. Barnhill. The zoning is tourist commercial. The future land use, thank you, is general commercial. The existing condition is a vacant, undeveloped lot fronting North Ocean Boulevard. The properties to the north include 5 residential homes, 2 vacant lots, 1 commercial property, and properties abutting the subject property to the south include a multi-tenant commercial building. The proposed mixed-use project is outside of the downtown mixed-use overlay boundary. The downtown mixed-use overlay is defined by the CLA boundary to the north, South 5th Street to the south, and Flagler Avenue to the west, and properties east of Central Avenue half the block west of A1A on the eastern front. The proposed mixed-use property is outside the A1A Regional Corridor District boundary, and so that does not lie within the mixed use. So everything that is permitted under tourist commercial is what is a permitted use once you're outside of those downtown design guideline boundaries. For commercial uses in tourist commercial or the medium district NDR districts along A1A, which continues through to Central Avenue and face or abut residential districts, the following provisions apply. Within the rear yard setback, a 15-foot buffer zone shall be provided. It should be treated with adequate fencing material and landscaping to block glare from uses. In no case, and this is section 206052, in no case shall automotive access to such lots be provided from Central Avenue. All automotive access for guests, residents, or customers shall be provided from A1A. You have a list of what items, what uses are permitted in tourist commercial. Number 13 is what allows all principal uses that are permitted in medium density residential. And staff recommends City Commission deny the site plan and request the applicant submit a site plan in accordance with permitted uses for tourist commercial. And or submit a site plan in accordance with permitted uses in medium density residential as noted in section 204208. That completes my presentation. Thank you.
All right, questions for city planner? While we are on that. All right, no questions for city planner. Applicant, if you want to come up and take us through this.
Thank you. You guys can just stand up for a minute. Sitting quite a while there. I'm here with my general contractor, Rick Daniels. I'd like to have him come up after I give you an overview and then let him go through the details. And I've got a sheet that I want to start with. So my wife and I bought this property in January of this year, and it's a TC commercial property. And we're here tonight to talk about how we can save this project. And I'm going to have, if it's okay with you commissioners, I'd like Rick just to give you this one sheet. Rick, could you give him those sheets, please?
You just give it to the city clerk.
We made 5 of them for the commissioners. I only have 1 extra. So that sheet is how this genesis started with the building. From the beginning, our application stated exactly what we wanted. Build an owner-occupied residence with a small boutique component within the tourist commercial district. If you look at that sheet, commissioners, you'll read on there, it says, please describe as in much detail your inquiry. What we wrote was we are planning a construction of a two-story structure that will include a first-floor commercial business for a posh boutique called House of Krigo, catering to tourists and local community, with storefront customer access from North Ocean Shore Boulevard. The second story will be our homestead. So the intent was we would live in the property. 85% of that property is going to be where we live in. 15% would be a storefront, mini boutique. We have prepared a rendition of the proposed two-story structure and would like more data on build options, requirements, and business permits required. Today is June 11th. I'm getting older. It's been 6 months. We were transparent from day one. Based on that understanding, we moved through the city process. We hired architects, engineers, surveyors, consultants, and a builder who's going to come up and speak in a minute. We attended TRC meetings, revised plans, responded to comments, and continued investing substantial time and money into this project. And doing research on the commissioners, you're business people. You know what it takes to run a business. You know it costs money. This costs money to build something. 6 months is a long time. My background was a vice president of Honeywell and a vice president in our corporation. I worked throughout the United States. I have not seen a process like this in my life. It's disappointing to me. But I think we can work it out. I'm here to try and figure it out. Our proposed building is approximately 4,000 square feet. Roughly 3,400 feet is dedicated to our residents. And approximately 600 square feet is dedicated to a small boutique. The project has been primarily a home. That's what we did it for. The issue before you tonight is not the design of the building, its size, its appearance, or its compatibility with the area. And I wish I had the picture of what it looks like and what the area looks like. The general contractor will walk you through it, but I think you'll see what we're trying to describe to you, commissioners. The property has viable residential and small business use under both zoning and Florida law. We are simply asking for a reasonable access solution so the property can be developed in a practical manner. With that, I will hand the floor to Mr. Daniels, and he can walk through it. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Richard Daniels. I'm the project manager for Paul Culver Construction. And I'm here on behalf of Brent and Evelyn Rico, owners of the property located at 2205 North Ocean Shore Boulevard in Flagler Beach. And we're here to request for approval of site design access modification. The Cricos purchased this property in 2025 because they were drawn to the unique character of Flagler Beach, its small town atmosphere, walkability, charm, and a strong sense of community. Their vision is to build a beautiful single-family residence that complements the surrounding neighborhood while incorporating a modest 600-square-foot owner-operated luxury retail space. From the beginning of this process, Mr. and Mrs. Grieco, have worked diligently with the city staff to ensure their project met all applicable requirements. Since January, they have participated in technical review committee meetings and addressed issues related to parking, landscaping buffers, fire separation requirements, access management, and site design. Throughout this process, they have acted in good faith and have made every effort to comply with the city's tourist expectations. The proposed commercial space is intentionally limited in size and scale. It will be owner-operated with customer access directly exclusively from A1A. The residential portion of the property will have separate access from the rear, allowing the owners to live on site while maintaining a clear distinction between residential and commercial activity. We were surprised by the recommendation of the TRC for denial and respectfully request that the commissioners consider allowing the approval. This will maintain the cohesiveness of the block for residential rural access while maintaining commercial access for May-1A. Additionally, we believe it is important to consider the provisions of Florida Statute 559995. And if I could, I'd like to give these copies to the clerk to hand out. The statute clearly states that local governments may not enact or enforce ordinance, regulations, or policy that improperly restrict qualifying home-based businesses operating from residential property. Should this application be denied, the owners retain the ability to construct the property as a single-family residence and operate a qualified home-based business within the residence permitted under Florida Law 559995. In that scenario, the same design services and business activities could potentially occur without many of the conditions currently being proposed through this application process. The proposal before you today is a transparent and responsible approach rather than concealing business activities within a resident. The owners are voluntarily providing dedicated commercial space, proper parking, appropriate site design, and clear separation between residential and business uses. This approach benefits both the city and the surrounding neighborhood by creating a well-designed project that is fully visible, regulated, and compatible in the community. Mr. and Mrs. Creco believe their project will be a positive addition to Flagler Beach and consistent with the character that attracted them here in the first place. Their goal is not to change the community, but become part of it. We respectfully request your approval of the project and consideration of the requested residential access in the rear. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, City Attorney. Is there, we have a lot of things being cited here from the applicant.
What they're arguing is, they're not arguing that it should be treated as a home-based business now. They're not proposing it as a home-based business now. What they're saying is, if you deny them the ability to have the retail as part of the development, they can come back and have a home-based business because of the changes in state law to home-based businesses, making it more permissible for home-based businesses. You'll have it in front of you, so you can read it.
We just had it put in front of us. We haven't been able
One
to
of the, that's okay, I've got it. I'll take it. Spend so much. You do have 559.955, which is why I say they're not proposing a home-based business now. As viewed from the street, the use of the residential property is consistent with the uses of the residential areas that surround the property. External modifications made to a residential dwelling to accommodate a home-based business must conform to the residential character and architectural aesthetics of the neighborhood. The home-based business may not conduct retail transactions at a structure other than the residential dwelling. However, incidental business uses and activities may be conducted at the residential property.
Also says parking has to comply, parking requirements.
So the fact that we're not here on that yet, but if they were talking to add a retail component to an existing residential, this is what would have to guide the city.
Right.
So can you have a home-based business? Absolutely. Could they do exactly what they're proposing here through home-based business? Probably not. Could they modify something and have something going on that's commercial in that residential? Absolutely. That is why the state did with home-based business what they did. But that does not change what you were here on, which is to determine whether this site plan satisfies your code.
And just for clarity, whatever this is later, the home-based business does not change parking layouts, access versus code as it is now, right?
Does not, that's right.
Okay.
Residential, what the there's always been an allowance for home-based business in state law, maybe not always, but as
I'll
long as
make
I've
sure we're
been
not
practicing.
muddying the conversation.
But 7, 8 years ago, the state relaxed those regulations. So to promote home-based business, actually it might have been around COVID that they did that, but to promote more home-based businesses, which took some authority away from local jurisdictions and how we regulate home-based businesses. And used to, there would be jurisdictions would have specific uses on what you could and could not do. Those all went away. But at the end of the day, the state still comes back to, but you have to look like your neighbors. You can't intensify the use. You have to be a residential use that has as a secondary use this commercial component. But again, that's not what you're hearing on today. The argument's being presented to you today though, to say, but we could have a business in this house even if you only approve a house. And they're right.
Right. But we're here for site plan approval.
Right.
Yeah. Just want to make sure we're all on the right page here. This is site plan approval on this property. As far as, you know, Florida statutes and all this other stuff, that's a separate topic. We're here to look at this property and site plan approval. Okay, so did any of y'all have questions for the applicant first before we get into a discussion? No questions for applicant? All right, discussion. Mr. Spradley.
I mean, for me, I see from the code, section 2.06.05.2, in no case shall automotive access to such lots be provided from Central Avenue. There's discussion about the proposed mixed-use project is outside the downtown mixed-use overlay boundary map. So for me, I'm just trying to figure out how what is before us is in compliance with the code. It does not appear that it is, which is why the PAR board denied it. So I'm just not hearing anything new today for me that suggests that the PAR board's concerns about non-compliance with the code would somehow be satisfied. I'm not hearing anything about that. Thank you.
Further discussion? Commissioner Santori.
And did the technical review community have the same response?
Yes, the first technical review meeting that he attended, we didn't really look at a site plan. And then when Mr. Krieger came back for the technical review committee, he came back with a complete signed and sealed site plan. And it didn't meet the code.
And that's kind of, just to piggyback off that, one of my questions was going to be for the city planners. How did we get to this point? So that's that, and that doesn't have anything, just so I don't want to muddy the waters further. That doesn't necessarily have direct impact on this site plan, but just for my own knowledge, how did we get here?
That's a very good question. Because normally, working with the planning tech, here's the requirements, here's the application for your TRC meeting, which is there's no fee, there's no application fee, and it's mostly voluntary, so we can help applicants get through this process and understand the codes, the land development code and the design guidelines. So when Mr. Krieger first came, he came with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with a drawing on it with no address. It wasn't a real site plan. So that TRC meeting really, the reviewers didn't have a chance to review anything. The fire marshal didn't have a chance to review anything because it wasn't a site plan. When he came back with a signed and sealed. So it really was convoluted, and I'm not sure, why he came back with signed and sealed when your concept plan goes to the PARB, and then here's your submission dates. You have to have your application submitted by this certain date, highlighted for the applicant, so that you could be ready for the city commissioner by this date. And kind of like Mr. Barnhill, you go back and forth until we satisfy the site plan with elected officials. So that's a really good question, and you know, I regret that we got to here, but it wasn't a TRC meeting that really operated like a TRC meeting. We heard about a lot of the encroachments from the existing neighboring building. At one time, both of these lots were one, so there was an encroachment in an exterior staircase that was permitted by the county before the city had oversight of permits, and like 6 inches of his HVAC, a Tico gas line. There were some that's what he mostly addressed at that first meeting, things that the city was not liable for. So this is the first time that's happened. Normally, people appreciate the TRC and the guidance that they get from the staff in order to be able to maneuver properly through the PARB and through the city commission.
Any further discussion? Anything over here? Commissioner Cunningham, Commissioner Sherman? None? I can open this up to public comment if you want. Get more info.
Well, I mean, what we're looking at is not what we're gonna be voting on. Ultimately, anyway, right?
Well, we are voting on this in front of us.
Right. I mean,
they would, it would either get approved or it would have to come back with something else depending on how the vote goes or, you know, the motion or a table, you know, any of those things.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, let's open this up, public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item?
Can I speak again, Commissioner?
You'll have a chance once public comments goes, yeah.
Paul McKicka, 351 Palm Circle. This is completely my personal opinion as a resident of Flagler Beach. I think this type of project would be awesome. A mixed-use project like this would be awesome to have in tourist commercial. I think it fits the district perfectly. Unfortunately, our code does not allow for mixed use outside of the mixed use area. So I know that puts you all in a tough spot. So I would encourage, if anything comes out of this, that the commission and PAR board and the city maybe reevaluate the uses in tourist commercial in the future. But that's all I want to say. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment on this agenda item? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Applicant, did you have a response for anything in public comment or stuff you want to cover?
Yes, thank you. I'm having Rick come back up. I'm big on facts and truth. I am not on lies and deceit. And as I said, I've been in the business. What your planning director just said is untrue. And I thank the gentleman that just came up and spoke. It's discouraging that I have to stand here and talk about my process when even the city administrator here, or manager, Dale Martin, I think his name is Dale Martin, met with me on some of these issues. But since your planning director brought this up, I'm going to open the doors for you commissioners. So if you want to stand up and take a break, I'm going to give you a full review. I wasn't going to do it because I thought we'd go through this tonight, be very straightforward. This property has multiple streets in the back that go into the residential parking. We were told, and I'm going to go back and read the January 13th, which is very critical. We are planning a construction of a two-story structure that includes a first-floor commercial business for a posh boutique called House of Krigo, catering to tourists and the local community with storefront customer access from North Ocean Shore Boulevard. The second floor will be our homestead residence. I will give this to Penny. Penny knows who I am. The reason I didn't do a formal TRC was I was told, and the meeting with Lapita is like, come and get out of here. And I'm just saying it, I'm going to throw it under the bus right now. It's come and get out of here. You call, you leave emails, you don't get the response. With due respect, I'm a tax-paying citizen. And at least I reserve the right to at least be told what's going on. So, Paul Culver Construction is right next to me. This is a very well-regarded, highly regarded construction company here in Florida. There is a drawing on there that Paul Culver, the president, with Rick, put it together for us for the meeting. I asked them to give me a floor plan designed with the front driveway coming off A1A, and I'll wait till Penny brings it back, because she's going to have to make other copies. And I asked for a rear entrance also. The rear entrance was for our residential. The front entrance was for our boutique business. We presented that in the first TRC. I didn't bring the notes tonight. I wish I would have, but I had Michelle, who's the technical planner, give me the meeting notes from my first TRC meeting. What you didn't hear from the city planner was that the person that just retired, Rick McFadden, had no questions. The engineer, Bill, I can't remember his last name, all he said was, I don't even know why I'm here. And the fire department said, okay, what's going on? So, the reason I did that, gentlemen, Penny's not here to give it to you, but I'm going to start, and then she can come back. Please bear with me, because I wasn't going to do this, but now I shall. Rick, I need to get this, the pictures. I had on the drawing, thank you, Penny. If Penny gave you our signed and sealed survey, and I apologize that the picture is small, but you will see in the upper right-hand corner multiple encroachments. Multiple encroachments. So, like I said earlier, I've built products throughout the United States, and what I've learned is, Penny, I've got to give these to you because I'm the only way to do it. These are pictures of the encroachments that are in that right-hand column. There's 4 AC units that are well encroached into our property. There's stairs that are well encroached into the property. There are people blocking.
You guys speak in the mic. This way we capture you.
Need to check my other file here. Another picture. So what you see coming up from Penny is going to be multiple pictures of encroachments on that property, which I brought up forth in the meeting of the TRC. And before I go spend thousands of dollars on drilling holes in the ground, doing tortoise tests, going out and getting the watershed done, I wanted to know, is this even a buildable lot? Will the city help me with this lot and understand to me why there's problems with this lot and why there's so many encroachments on this lot? The property to our south is called 2201 North Ocean Shore Boulevard, aka you know it as the Java Joint, and multiple other businesses. Your city attorney is sitting right here. He has received my emails. I've never received a response from your city attorney. Never. I was told this is a civil matter. I was told deal with it. So after that TRC meeting on February 19th, because I'm in the business, I called Tico and I said, Tico, I need to get this thing off my property. There's a gas line going through it. And I got one of the managers who I knew who he was. He said, I'll take care of it. A couple of days later, somebody from the city called and said, oh, I took care of it. Right. I already made the call. I got that removed. In that TRC meeting with the planning director, or manager, the question was asked, what about those stairs? Is that a civil or code enforcement? Who just retired, Rick McFadden, said, that's code enforcement. The planner goes, no, that's got to be civil. Second question, what about those AC units? Are those AC units civil, or are they code enforcement? And my wife was there, so I have a witness.
Can I just, how does that tie into this, though?
100%, sir. This is why I'm here
I'll make
without,
an effort too to shut it, to short circuit it. It's not code enforcement because those were permitted by the city. The city cannot code enforce that which is already issued a permit for.
thank you, sir. But they found out the stairs weren't permitted by the city, and then they went and had the stairs removed. And the platform's still there. So part of your answer is correct, sir.
Correct, and the city dealt with what the city could deal with. But if it's been permitted, it is not code enforcement, it is civil.
Right.
But, hold on, city attorney, I'm still trying to wrap my head around
Basically,
how this is tying into.
That I'll leave to the applicant. I won't speak for them on that because that's their argument to make to you, but that's for them to make.
Commissioner Chairman Cooley, your question was, how do we get here? That was your question.
No, my question was, how does what you're covering now tie into the site plan approval? That's my question.
We were misguided from January 13th until today. Because the TRC first meeting, we were trying to understand what it is can we do and can't do. And I wanted to know, and I gave her the drawings. I gave it, can we do a front, can we do a back? That was in February. In March, I hired everyone to come in because I was told, hey, you're good to go. Let's get this thing in there. So I didn't do, there's not signed and sealed drawings. All that is the design drawings to show what we're going to build. There's no divisions in there with HVAC and all the other components that go with the divisions of a build. We didn't do that part. We gave a formal plan. So we did that in March, commissioners. Those pictures you're seeing right there are what I was trying to make sure I didn't have a problem with. Because if I go spend all this money putting together this plan and I find out none of that stuff could take care of, just like the city attorney just said, I'd be a fool. That's why we didn't go through that full process in that TRC in the first meeting. We want to know what were our options. Just like I asked in January 13th, or in February. In March, which is the most important one, we attended the March one. We had everybody there. My general contractor was there, my architect was there. I will go back again. You can pull the city records commissioners. No questions. All that Bill, the engineer, said was that, okay, I got to get the watershed figured out. All that Rick McFadden said was no questions. I've had 2 CR meetings, TRC meetings, Commissioner, with no questions from your employees in the city, including your planning director, who just misled you in what she said that I didn't bring any plans. He had them. He wrote it. It has a number on it, 1 inch equals so many feet. We showed it, but now you have a full drawing set from March. So the March meeting went, well, we were told, hey, you're good. Get ready for the par. Let's do the par. 4 days before par, I get an email, not even a phone call, an email from your city planner. Hey, we're going to deny your plan. January 13th, February, March, April, the city tells me now, you can't do it with this property. That's unfair to a citizen, it's unfair to a taxpayer, it's unfair to everybody in this room. All I asked for tonight was that this property was fully disclosed from day one, January 13th. The builder has been with me the whole time. I didn't even bring the builder in the first meeting because I wanted to see those pictures. You see that guy hauling the garbage out? You see those garbage cans there, those tippy carts? A tippy cart is about the size of this podium. I met with your city manager. I said, hey, those tippy carts are in my property because they were leaning up. You can see the pictures. They had them leaning up against the wall. So what you got to do is you got to back it out, and then you got to pull it to the street. Commissioner Cooley, Chairman Cooley, you can't take a tippy cart off your property and walk it to somebody else's property and start walking it down the street. The property at 2201, since you brought it up, is called a 2011 special exception. I got those documents from Penny, and I thank her for it. The 2011 special exception states you cannot harm your neighbor, you cannot burden him with a price of his property, you can't take his land. And yes, City Attorney Drew Smith, the city approved and permitted, but did catch the guy once installing a unit without a permit. There's 5 units there with 5 permits from 2017 to 2025. This is not grandfathered in. So, you asked the question, how did I get to where I'm at? And what I'm trying to figure out with this lot? I'd say I did some due diligence before I went and spent all that money, but then the city tells me, hey, no, can't do it. So you got 2 problems now, because I'm going to bring it up. 2011 special exception for 2201 is a major problem for the city of Flagler Beach. You can't take a 2011 exception, special exception, and overbuild it. Tonight, your city planner said, and I want to quote it, it's in the document you got here when she introduced the project to you. I'm going to read it to you. This is from your planner. Surrounding properties. Properties to the north include 5 residential homes, 2 vacant lots, and 1 commercial property. I presume the commercial property is the car wash that hasn't sold yet. Properties abutting the subject property to the south include a multi-tenant commercial building, quote 2201, with professional services, office, retail, and a coffee shop. Gentlemen, I don't know how many of you live in Flagler Beach or you live in another city, because I know commissioners live in different locations, but that is not what is in 2201. This is the document information out of the 2011 special exception. City attorney knows all this. He doesn't disclose it. He's keeping it to himself because he has it. Dale Martin, city manager, has this data. Lupita McLean has this data. There is a full-service restaurant with liquor, indoor-outdoor seating at that location. There is a beauty salon at that location. There is a bodega with multiple products taking up that location. There is a real estate office at that location. Chairman Cooley, if you look at the 2011, you'll see that that property was for a coffee shop. The special exception was for a timeshare business with 2 people that 90% of their time is on the phone and nobody uses the parking lot. If you gentlemen drive by there tonight before you go home, you'll see tippy carts in the parking lot. You'll see it overbuilt because your magistrate met with me 2 weeks ago, and the attorney Holly New was there, and he said in the meeting, this is an overbuilt property. I said, well, the city can deal with that. But now, no. The city's going to have to deal with it because now you know commissioners. So I'm asking you tonight, all I want is my rear...
What is it that you say is overbuilt? What uses are not authorized?
2201 is overbuilt. It wasn't built. You need to read the 2011, sir, because it says in there that it...
Hold on a second, hold on.
Does commercial allow the uses that he's discussing? The special exception does not limit uses. It adds uses to the existing zoning. So if those uses are permitted by right, there is not a zoning problem there.
So hold on, gentlemen. I want to make sure we have this conversation be about this property. Whatever issues are going on with a different property, we are here for site plan approval for this property. I do not want to go down the road of getting into an hour-long discussion on a property that doesn't have anything to do with the agenda item. That can be a different agenda item, if need be. This is for site plan approval on this property. So I want to keep the discussion contained to this subject. Are y'all both, everybody's good with that? Okay, thank you.
So this particular, this was the original on January, the plan that was brought into Lapita. This shows a driveway and parking in the rear. And it shows parking, a main driveway and parking in the front. So, did that code just change in February? Or has it been enacted for a while? When was that code enacted, Lapita?
Well, this is your turn to present. This is
So, so if that's the case, and this was given to her on January, and it shows,
We gave it to her in February.
I'm sorry.
RC meeting.
So this was given to him in February. Why wasn't a comment made in February to tell us that for the mixed use, and just so you understand, Mr. Grigo was told by Lapita that this should be a mixed use, and that's incorrect. The property is zoned residential, so the property should have stayed residential, and it should have just been pushed forward for a home-based business. That's why I'll bring that up. What I'm asking for in this commission meeting here, this site plan would not change. I don't even have to come for site plan approval. I can go directly to the building department and submit for permitting once I have my trust drawings and other. I don't even have to go to site plan approval for a residence. Doesn't need to be. So, and then the 559 clearly reads that it can't be unobstructed by the city. So if I build...
You have to comply with the requirements of 559 if you're going to do home-based business.
That's correct, and we do, in every way, shape, or form. And that's why we brought that to the city, because we wanted to make sure we were applicating to all the parking requirements.
Why
and
not
everything.
withdraw your application, build your residence, and build your and put your home-based business in?
We could do that. We were just...
Let me answer that, because that's a great question, Drew. I appreciate the question. Gentlemen, you know what a watershed is, right? And how much it costs to do that plan? I paid for all the plans. I put the money in after March 19th. The site is a beautiful site. It meets everything the city wants. It's got the aesthetics. I've got the watershed set up. I've got the parking set up. I've got the ADA parking. Everything's... I'll give Lupita credit on that. She got me the parking figured out. With the ADA, it's set, Drew. It's ready to be approved right now. You can approve it just by giving me the rear parking for my 2 cars for my wife and I to drive in. And we're good. Otherwise, I have to go back again, give you the same thing, and that's all I'm going to do. I'm not going to change it. The design is there. It's 600 square feet. It's 15%. 85% is the building of residential. It's my primary use. It's not a primary business for us. It's just a hobby, and that's exactly what the law is for. So all I'm asking tonight is approve my rear parking. Lapita can take care of it, and we're off and running. That's all we're asking for.
Is the parking for the residents or for the business?
Residents. Thank you, sir. Good question.
So I ask again, why is the site plan necessary?
We were directed that way by Lapita to do a mixed use. We were directed by Lapita to do a mixed use.
Because you want to do mixed use, you were pushed to site plan. But now that we sit here, why do you need the site plan approval?
Well, we spent all the money on all of it. I mean, we've got $25,000 in the site plan. Why wouldn't we just move forward?
Developers spend money on plans all the time and get denied at site plan. You're not guaranteed anything until you get through this step.
Well, we wouldn't have had to spend the money if we were directed correctly.
Dioceses disagree with planners in every jurisdiction. That's why we have this process. Otherwise, this part of the process would be redundant and the planner would make all the decisions.
Drew, why do the commissioners have the authority to look at this plan right now and say, does it meet all the if I can finish, please? Or do you want to, you can go. I'm being very respectful about this whole process. Do we need to take a break?
No.
Okay, because I don't want to have somebody say I didn't hear it. We went through the entire process in detail. I asked all the questions over and over again. In fact, what I'll do in every meeting when I finish it, I say, do you have any questions, sir? Do you have any questions, sir? I went through the questions. The design right now, it meets everything the city of Flagler Beach is requiring. So, Commissioner Cooley, all I'm asking you is do a vote and see if you guys are willing to give me the 2 parking spaces in the rear, which Drew said politely, and I thank him for it. What are they for? They're for my wife and I to park our cars back there. The street, coherently and aesthetically, everybody on that street drives in the back. That whole street, all the new ones, they drive in the back on Central.
Mr. Chris,
So, all we're asking is the parking pull in the rear. Everything else is ready. I don't need to change the design. I'm not going to. Why would I? It's already designed. It's done. I paid for it. The architect, now I gotta go back to the architect and go spend all that money again, Drew, to go change the plans when it's already approved.
Well, and that's why I keep asking the question I'm asking, though. You've spent the money on the plans. Your plans are good. Why do you need this approval today?
Because
We were already on the board meeting, so we felt, okay, that coming in front of the commission and explaining our case should be a simple approval and a simple vote.
But if you don't need,
Because we wanted to do it fully legally and show what we were trying to do.
are you trying to do more than you could do under 559?
No. No.
so if it is going to be commercial use at all, it says in no case shall automotive access be provided from Central Avenue. All automotive access for guests, residents, or customers is provided from State Road 81A.
And so just to think about that, okay, so you've got bed and breakfasts that are adjacent to the north.
All the commission can do is say whether or not this meets the commission's code.
I think we've got a clear picture on where everybody stands. So, the staff was recommending non-approval for their reasons, and then the applicant stating their case of, an exception. And, it would be for our approval, whatever you want to call it.
And approval is what you're here for.
Thank you.
And, is there any other additional info to consider on this? Because we need to make a decision.
I think we covered most of it.
Okay. All right.
I
Perfect.
do have an answer I can give Drew because he asked a question.
Yes, sir.
Our property right now is ready to be built on. We got the stuff moved off it. It's being moved. So we address those issues. So there's no challenges on anything right now. We just need to have this part resolved for the rear parking. And we gratefully ask you, don't put us out another 60, 90 days. I'm 9 months into something. I'm already 6 months into it. When this is such a professional planning process for a city to do, all I'm asking is the city have a structure, follow the structure. Don't put the citizen in a position of June 11th, and I have to go through all this now. And don't put me through another process saying, go back and look at this, and let's revisit it, let's shelve it, because I know that's what I'm seeing the attorney look at me on this. Just please approve it. We move on. You've got your project exactly the way you want it. You've got a business here in Flagler Beach. You've got 2 professionals. And I love the city. I love the area. I love the people. So all I'm asking is pass it. Let us build this thing, and you'll be happy. And you'll see a beautiful looking building. So thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right, discussion. Mr. Santori.
Mr. Smith, so for this project to go forward, what would be the proper process for this?
What do you mean?
Recommendation. So you mentioned that it could be done as was it a residential?
Residential doesn't require site plan. That was, so to explain that part of the conversation, if it was strictly residential, you would never see it. It would just be residential, just be developed as residential. You don't see residential site plans. Sounds like what has tripped this into the site plan process was the 600 square feet of commercial on the ground floor. So the reason I was asking the question I was asking, based on what the applicant had said from the podium, is if you can build this as residential, add your home-based business pursuant to 559 later, then why not do that? Why are you even asking for this? I think, as it wrapped up, what became clear to me is it is that parking area that is triggering this to be in this process. Is that because that's associated with the commercial and not strictly for the residential, if it were conditioned that that could only be used for residential, would that resolve that issue for you?
Which it resolved the
I understand, but from the planner's perspective, would it resolve the issue if there were a condition that said that that back parking area off Central can only be used from residential?
well, all residential homes can come in from Central Avenue. It's only the part that is commercial that the code comes in that says, under no circumstance.
That was one of the reasons why they showed the parking in the front and wanted to do it this way, so all parties were
We can't, this is not open floor. City Attorney.
I've said about as much as I have to say, but given, there's an intervening question that I can't answer, which is the one that I keep asking. If it's not necessary, why do you want it? You know, if you can do everything you want to do without this approval today, and I think it is that site plan. I think this approval gives them flexibility on that parking area and the uses that 559 would not. But I'm speculating there because it's an undeveloped project. We can't say how it would develop. So process-wise, though, on a site plan, you are here like any other case. Your sole question is, does it meet the criteria? Does it meet the code? If it does meet code, you vote to approve. If it does not, you move to deny, and you state what part of code it does not meet.
Question for clarity here. So you mentioned earlier, and we know that residential properties have access from Central. That's commonplace up and down that corridor. You mentioned something about having like a restriction or something like that placed on?
A condition of approval that that parking area that's shown on the site plan can only be used for the residential parking, which is what was said from the podium, that it was just for Mr. Kriego and his wife.
And then, correct me if I'm wrong, so residential properties have access from Central, correct? And if there is a restriction placed on that, then that makes the property pretty much like the other residential properties. Other than that, it has commercial in the front and commercial access in the front. Am I oversimplifying it, or am I making it worse?
No, I think as to the parking, I agree with you. The one thing I would say to that, although it would apply up and down the road too, if anybody else had a home-based business, would be everybody is as good as their word. There's not going to be somebody camped out there watching to make sure only Mr. Kriego and his wife use that parking area. But really no different than any other property out there.
Okay. All right. Discussion. Commissioner Riley.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out, and while I appreciate all the heartburn that the applicant has gone into great detail to describe, that has occurred, but I feel my job here is to make decisions that are based on compliance with the code. And I'm still trying to understand how, when I'm reading the code, to say that in no case shall automotive access to such lots be provided from Central Avenue for a lot that's being used both commercial and residential, and it's not a home-based business. How can I say, well, it's okay? I'm not going to look at that because I'm looking at the code, and that's just part of my makeup. I'm a lawyer. I mean, that's what it says. And I have not heard to my satisfaction of how we can say, okay, we appreciate all the heartburn you've gone through, so we'll just dispense with that requirement. I'm just not seeing how we can square that with what is before us today. It's not a strictly residential use for today. It's not a home-based use for today. Those are not before us. What's before us is a mixed commercial residential use which has these restrictions on it. So if someone can help me understand how I could, in good faith, say, yes, I will vote for this, and yet not be in conflict with the code, I'd be happy to hear it.
Okay. Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, if we were to go forward with this, can we, I mean, obviously, like you said, you're only as good as your word. However, if we have something in writing, I mean, again, my thought would be we allow commercial in the front, and again, if it's written in the record here, we strictly allow the residential parking in the back. And I don't want to go off on a tangent or go into other stories, but I believe a few years back, it was somewhere in that area, we had a property where the former city planner didn't allow for the residents there to have parking on A1A because of a couple of different issues. I think it was the speed limit, or they felt it was dangerous, and then they ended up having to.
That was the other property next to
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with that is and I know that was only a residential unit, but that came before us, and you know we made an exception we ended up forcing them to park. Was it North 18th or 19th? Was it?
It's the property right across the street from John.
Across the street. So and do you recall that one? Okay. So we ended up not allowing them to have a driveway that traversed onto A1A. I know this is two different types of zoning here, but I guess my thought process here would be if we can put some sort of variant, some sort of verbiage in this that just specifically clearly states for the record that the front of the property would be strictly for the commercial area and the back would be strictly for the residents, I'd be okay with moving forward with this.
If the issue is the parking area, that condition on paper solves that. And
Okay.
in my comment, it's only as good as your word, same as anybody else. You know, at that point, it converts, that condition becomes the same as if, well, the ordinance says what the ordinance says, which is no commercial parking, or no commercial access off of Central. So really, that condition would simply be applying the code. So from an enforcement standpoint, yes, I'm good with you, with that.
Okay.
On the parking. The other issue, the issue that Commissioner Spradley raises, though, that does not touch on.
Okay.
So it solves one issue. If the other issue is significant to you, it does not solve that.
All right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Commissioner Cunningham.
I was kind of thinking the same way of Scott, is if we approve this, we're approving this the way it is right now. Can it come back and bite us in the rear end if it's, something's not followed that is promised? Or should it be rewritten and come back again and do it the right way without making the conditions? Just my thought. What do you think?
Is that a question for me?
Yeah, kinda.
I think it was a question for me or for the board. Your role in site plan is, does it meet code? If it meets code, vote to approve. If there's areas of code you do not believe it meets, you vote to deny, and you state those reasons.
Well, apparently what it is saying, it does not meet code.
I can't weigh the evidence for you. That's why I'm giving the answer that I'm giving. I have to leave to you to weigh the evidence and make that determination.
Yeah, all I'm saying is maybe it could come back the way it needs to be and then vote on it. That's how I feel.
Okay.
We'll be voting on what we're looking at.
All right. So we've had discussion, we've heard from the public, heard from the applicant, city attorney. What's the pleasure of the board?
I'd make a motion that we approve the site plan application for PMS 26-003. Do I need to make an amend that?
You don't have to amend it, you can make it as part of the motion. Do you want to include as part of your motion a condition that any parking access off of Central is limited to residential and no commercial access off of Central?
Yes, that would be correct.
All right, we have a motion. All right, the motion does not have a second, the motion dies. What's the pleasure of the board?
Need a motion, one way or the other, so you have
to have a
motion on this.
Yeah, it'll either be, well, motion to table, motion to approve, or motion to deny.
I'll make a motion to table. Yeah, for the
I
reason.
second. Oops, sorry.
I'm sorry. I don't need to state why, but yeah, motion to table.
You could state why, huh?
Well, it sounds like there's some unfinished business here. We've already had the motion, made and not seconded. I don't think this project's gonna disappear, so motion to table, to see if the parties can get something brought before us that might have a chance to pass, our code.
Okay, Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, I just had a follow-up question. Would we want to put, as we did for Mr. Barnhill then, would you guys want to give it a little bit more of a date certain? It sounded as though we had maybe a little bit more sense of urgency to move forward with this project just due to what was disclosed to us this evening. So, I don't know if that's something that we could move forward at our June 25th meeting, or to, for the sake of good faith and trying to allow them, I don't
Date
know.
certain does is allows us to avoid permitting. So as to when that date certain should be, if you want to table to date certain, the applicant's engagement in that conversation becomes critical, because it's how much time they need to make the revisions to address the issues that you're raising, if they choose to make them.
Okay.
Commissioner Santori.
I know I seconded, but, thinking more about it, I mean, is this a project that we would rather have seen go back to Power Board for them to put their recommendations to? I mean, I'm looking at the same, standard that I'm holding the Barnhill project to, with the, the front driveway having a barrier put there. Like, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name all of a sudden, but screening. Yes, thank you. There's certain aspects of this project I didn't apply here because I wasn't looking at it the right way until now. So if we can either table and I can start going through that, or do we put it to par?
Well, City Attorney, just a question about the table here. So if there's a motion to table, would, say Commissioner Spradley, yes, you were the one that made the motion, amends, that's not a mandate from the board that it would go through the process again, would that?
No, it would not. It would come straight back to you, unless part of that motion is to return it to Power Board before it comes back to you, which you may do.
Right, but that would be up to the person making the motion to decide if they want to do that or not.
Or the dais, you don't have to approve the motion that's been made. You could also.
Correct. We could always say no to it. Any pleasure to amend the motion or no?
I am going to amend the motion and to table and direct that it go back to the Power Board, and that's based on the evidence presented today. It seems like there's a dispute of facts about what came to the Power Board, what went to the Technical Review Board. I would like to see it go to the Power Board. After all, they're the ones who went to the trouble of making no recommendation for what's before us today. I think if there's going to be an effort to try to bring something that the board will pass, that the Power Board would be a logical next step.
Is
So
there,
that's my motion, table, and then go to the Power Board before coming back.
is there a second on amended?
Well, does the second accept the amendment?
I second the amendment.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Penny, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Spradley,
Yes to the motion.
Commissioner Sherman,
No.
Commissioner Cunningham,
Yes.
Commissioner Santori,
Yes.
Chair Cooley.
Yes, the motion. Motion passes 4-1. We'll move on to ordinance 2026-08. Drew?
Ordinance 2026-08, an ordinance of the City of Flagler Beach, Florida, relating to littering regulations, amending Chapter 14, offenses and miscellaneous provisions, adopting more stringent littering regulations, restricting the use of plastic and metallized party decorations outside on public properties, providing for penalties and enforcement, providing for appeals and payment of citations, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for an effective date.
All right, City Manager.
This back on second, so this includes the discussion items that you had from first reading.
Further discussion?
I know we talked about it. Sorry. You're good. I know we talked about enforcement. Have we kind of figured out how we're going to do that? I know code enforcement and police department will be able to enforce it. Anything beyond that, and how much enforcement would there be?
Right now, it's left at where we left it at first reading, which is law enforcement officers and code enforcement officers. It's not expanded beyond that in this draft.
I mean, I'm all for it. It's just it's going to be hard to enforce. I was at the beach with my grandkids, and there was a lady that was, 100 feet away, smoking cigarettes, and she was just putting them out in the beach sand. I mean, what do you do when you walk up to somebody at the beach and start telling them they're littering? You get shot. I mean, people are crazy. So I didn't know what to do, especially with in front of my grandkids.
At that point, they would be littering casings.
Yeah.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, and I appreciate everything Commissioner Cunningham just said, but for me, you know, and I know there were varying views on this, but the adjustment to enforcement to exclude lifeguards, I think, was important for that very reason. Leave it in the hands of law enforcement and code enforcement, so I'm good with that.
And just for clarity, Commissioner Cunningham, are you good with the way it's written? Is that, or, okay. I just want to make sure we're tracking with you. Further discussion? Good, Sherman?
Yeah.
All right, let's open this up to public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Come on up, Mr. Reynolds. You've been sitting here a while.
Penny, how do I get moved up on the agenda? What do I gotta do? Flowers, chocolate, I don't care. Please, move me up on the agenda. The only thing I have to say is the enforcement. First of all, if somebody's smoking on the beach, they shouldn't be smoking on the beach. There's no smoking on the beach. So why didn't you call the police and say these people were smoking on the beach? I mean, you know, so I think it's all of us need to be involved. You didn't have to approach her. You could have called the police and say, hey, somebody's out here smoking. So I think that's the thing. We've got to get people involved. I mean, you know, and yes, I've approached people. Actually, I did a beach cleanup and had a group of people, and one of the mothers threw a cigarette in front of me with all the buckets I had out there for picking up litter. And I'm like, really? You're going to do that? And she apologized. I gave her a T-shirt. I gave her a bag. You know, I did all the things that I think I should have done. So I didn't have a pocket ashtray on me at the time. I think the only thing, Drew, that is a little troubling to me that we may want to look at, and it kind of goes back to the e-bikes maybe, is the confetti cannons. That doesn't look strict enough. I think maybe we have a warning period for 6 months, 3 months, I don't care, but for what you had in there, essentially it's a warning, and then it's another warning, and then it's a $50 fine, or I'm not sure I'm quoting that correctly, but it just didn't look like it was going to need it didn't have the teeth it needed. It needed something more.
The first violation was a warning, the second violation was $50.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but maybe, I mean, that's the worst litter we've got. I mean, if somebody's shooting a cannon off out there, I mean, try picking one of those up. I mean, that takes a village. So I think if we could put in, you know, we got to get the word out. We're not going to have people shooting confetti cannons off in Flagler Beach. I mean, we need to get the word out about, I'm trying my best to get the word out about cigarette litter. And actually this weekend we've even got Finn's hosting an event for us, believe it or not. So, but if we don't enforce it, it's going nowhere. I mean, so yes. And Commissioner Spradley, I think the lifeguards should be involved, but they should be involved like I just told Mr. Cunningham. Report it. You know, at least get it out there. All three of my kids were lifeguards, and I would have expected them to report it, maybe not go up and approach people. So.
I don't think the ordinance, sorry.
Let's get through public comment first.
Okay. So anyway, I'm just saying, you know, it takes us all. It takes all of us to get involved. I mean, and, you know, point it out. I mean, a lot of people, after you point it out to them, they do apologize, and they, you know, I don't know that they won't do it again. But anyway, I just think it takes a lot of us to get more involved. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment on this agenda item? All right, we'll close public comment. Commissioner Spradley.
I was just going to say the ordinance as drafted doesn't prohibit the lifeguards from calling the police. It just takes them out of the chain of enforcement. But there's nothing to prohibit Commissioner Cunningham, the lifeguards, Drew, my dog, anybody else from trying to get enforcement involved. Thank you.
All right, further discussion. Look for motion. Oh, before you do that, is there any appetite on the dais to eliminate the warning for confetti cannons? and then do like an as amended.
Not specific to confetti cannons, though, just so you understand.
What's it?
That was the metallized, that was that section of metallized plastics, the decoration items, that's in that section that had so much heartburn from the commission on the pre-first reading of this. That's why I built in that warning, because you had so much heartburn over those party decorations being a violation.
Thoughts on that? As is
I like
or
it as
change?
is.
I prefer as is, and maybe we can just amp up our public awareness of it through Facebook and, you know, what's, like, no party poppers, no confetti cannons.
We can always change too. This ordinance can always come back and get, like, let's say we go through a year of public awareness. Then you can bring it back, turn the screws on it as well. If, you know, y'all are okay with that.
And Commissioner Sherman is our sanitation commissioner coming up, so he can do something for us.
All right, look for a motion.
I had a thought real quick. If, I know in St. Augustine and most all other beaches, at least where you drive on, even if you can't drive on it, there's always some kind of law enforcement that's riding up and down the beach on a four-wheeler. I know we have, every now and then I've seen one, but I don't know if it's regular. But it should be every day. Go one end, all the way from one end to the other, and do it all day long, or until your time's up, and be able to write tickets. I don't know if it might be a private service, security company or something.
We've brought that up in strategic meeting many years. Or also having foot patrol and boardwalk, you know, that was all, it was all discussed, which is, and I guess probably a city manager and chief discussion, which would be probably outside this ordinance, but it's always been a desire, I know that, for many years.
It has been. It's been raised since I've been here, and in the past, it's typically been staffing shortages more than anything, because we typically, right now, we have one sergeant and two patrol officers on duty. And when you take one off of that, it becomes problematic. And we are working to rectify that. We understand that that is not only the commission's intent or desire, but also the community desire. So we're going to strive to get to that.
I look for motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 2026-08.
I'll second the motion.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? And if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Sherman?
Yes.
Commissioner Cunningham?
Yes.
Commissioner Santori?
Yes to motion?
Commissioner Spradley?
Yes to the motion.
Chair Cooley?
Yes, the motion. Motion passes unanimous. Move on to staff report. City Attorney.
I was about to get up and go, so while Daryl's still here, in case, if he may want to fill in, or you may want to engage in conversation, because I know one of the questions Daryl keeps asking me is, when will I have time to draft the business owners maintaining the right-of-way area outside of property? And as I've told some of you, and I think I've mentioned to Mr. Real, this is where that issue runs up against other issues you're dealing with right-of-way maintenance. And so I told Mr. Reynolds, once we got through this one, that I'd bring this item back up and see if there was any appetite right now to address the businesses starting to take a more active approach to maintaining litter, et cetera, in the right-of-way area in front of businesses.
Go ahead. Can you restate what you're asking here?
That's just, Mr. Reynolds has also provided model ordinance regarding businesses taking care of the strip of right-of-way in front of the business. And Mr. Reynolds asks me occasionally when that will be able to come back. And I've explained, well, Commission is dealing with many issues involving rights-of-way in the city. And because of that, I felt more comfortable with what you just passed. Actually, I think that's how the conversation started. Let's peel that out and not include that, because I think that would be a more problematic subject than this was. And so I'm asking you now, is there an appetite to deal with that in the businesses and litter context, or is it something that you want to keep as you've had it so far, combined with your other right-of-way issues that I know you're will be workshopping and discussing as we move forward in the next fiscal year?
Mr. Sherman.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, would this be something, you mentioned the rights of way of businesses. Is this something that would be in the purview of our CRAP board? And also, would this be something in the purview of, maybe talking this through, and I know Commissioner Spradley, and I think you too, Commissioner Coyle, you guys represent us a little bit more often with FB3. Has there been any discussions with that at those meetings?
There's not been any discussions that I'm aware of concerning it. Usually a lot of those discussions are reactive versus what they see on agendas. But there hasn't been any proactive discussion.
Agreed. We can easily add that as a CRAB agenda item for discussion, and I ask for their direction to you or where they'd want to go with it as local business owners.
I'd like to see that maybe be discussed and mention that, this is a potential ordinance that's coming to us because, I'd like to have that line of communication and also have them be aware of it to, I think start with policing themselves first. And obviously, being out there with Mr. Reynolds, we do see quite a bit of garbage out there, but also maybe having it, have it known to them as well before we maybe brought that right before us, and maybe we have some constructive conversations before, we move forward with it.
How do y'all feel about that? Consensus?
I agree on two things. One, that it is something that now's the time to talk about it, and I see it in my business right next door. I see the trash, and I'm open to some sort of a structured way for me to have a role in alleviating that. But also, I like the CRAB board for there to be some input from them, because I think it would be valuable. I think you got folks there that will want to discuss this.
Other thoughts? Commissioner Santori?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, when I did the Tootsie Roll Drive at Oceanside, and I know they're not part of the CRAB board, but I was amazed at the amount of times that they would walk the perimeter to pick up trash. I mean, it was constant. Management was constantly out there keeping the grounds clear. And I think it'd be a good discussion to have, and maybe some ways that they can implement ways to have less litter.
Commissioner Cunningham, anything? Good. Yeah, I think our folks on the CRA advisory board need to weigh in on it. It's good. It's an initiative that we need to figure out how to make happen. What I worry about is I saw the ordinance and I worry about unintended consequences. I can tell you that I do not want to get fined because people are littering out in the street. Point blank. Not okay with it. It happens all the time in front of my store. It drives me bananas. That's actually why I was originally going way back, back to when the Flagler All-Stars started, was because I saw trash from my business in the right of way, on the beach, and it's still a pain point. It drives me crazy. And but I can pick up litter. I could have staff out there all day picking up litter, and there's still going to be litter. And that's the problem, is the city going to fine a business for something they didn't do? So that's what I worry about. That area needs navigated, and we got to be careful of that. As long as we are not doing something that's going to involve that road going down. Because, for instance, if I go by Commissioner Spradley's office and there's trash there, is he going to get fined?
Pick it up for me.
I'm not picking it up. I'm letting you get fined. But so that's the only worry. And I think sending it through the CRAB board is a good organic way for those questions to get answered and get the bugs worked out. Did that answer it?
Yes, sir, I did. Thank you.
Okay. And that's all you got?
Yes, sir.
All right, City Manager.
Had a good conversation with Mr. Fernandez and Representative Greco on Monday about our budget item, the reverse osmosis, moving forward, as well as the reallocation of the money from the pier to the beach walk project. Representative Greco said he would be very supportive of signing a letter indicating his support for that money being reappropriated, rescoped for the beach walk aspect of the pier. I'd like to congratulate Deputy Clerk Colleen Kuhn. She graduated from the Flagler County Tax Collectors Leadership Academy this evening. Unfortunately, they always do their graduations and classes on Thursday nights, so we can't get over there to support them, although there was some city staff there this evening to support Ms. Kuhn. You will hopefully see some new amenities in Veterans Park here shortly. We have ordered 3 cantilevered umbrellas with some small tables and chairs and benches, with the concurrence of Mr. Minaj Bula, that they will be placed in Veterans Park. He will have some oversight over the location so that view quarters are approved, or satisfied. So hopefully, we've ordered red, white, and blue for Veterans Park. So hopefully those will be ordered and in position before the 4th of July. Thank you for all of your input, preliminary input on the budget. Staff is working on that. And I'm sure when we go to the Florida League of Cities, that you will be overwhelmed and inundated with nothing but property taxes. So, again, with regard to the Florida League Cities, please let Ms. Overstreet know if you're going to go, you've got a +1 that's going to go as well, so she can make sure that the appropriate registration accommodations are made. So, pending any questions, that's all that I have.
Questions for city manager? Well, that's gonna be a hot mess. Chief, anything?
Real quick, e-bikes, they've been governing my life here lately.
The only thing I ask is, the ordinance has gone back and forth so many times that the current ordinance says that in the city, you can ride them on sidewalks in certain areas. Florida State Statute 316-20655 subsection 7 specifically outlines where e-bikes can be ridden. And it lists multi-use paths, bicycle lanes, highways, roadways. It does not say sidewalks in that statute.
Anywhere where bicycles are in a different statute, though. State law allows them on sidewalks unless the local jurisdiction prohibits them.
Unless we, okay, all right. Because one of the issues that I'm having is I'm constantly getting phone calls about e-bikes on sidewalks. Where people are walking their dogs, people are just trying to enjoy. And the problem is sidewalks are determined by a certain width, if I'm not an engineer, but multi-use paths are acknowledged by a different width, a larger width. But again, so maybe we should revisit this. I'll leave it up to you all, but I get flooded, especially now that the kids are out of school, riding around. I get flooded with phone calls about e-bikes on sidewalks. So,
is there certain locations that you're hearing more about?
No, well, CRA district, downtown area mostly.
That's in the ordinance, correct, Drew? C 110 or something like that?
It's boardwalk. It lists some specific restrictions.
I know we prohibited them from being on sidewalks in the downtown corridor, but I don't know off the top of my head exactly where it's delineated.
Right, I don't know the
But
exact.
it is prohibited in CRA-ish area.
I'll have to pull it back up and revisit it because I didn't see it specifically spelling out that CRA district. I know it specifically says on the boardwalk on A1A, sidewalks on A1A, there's a few clearly designated areas on there.
I'll give it, Chief, and we'll bring forward an ordinance that lays out sidewalks that PD thinks will be best to provide further restriction.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
City planner.
Thank you. So your code enforcement team is certified through the Florida Association of Code Enforcement, and this week they are at the 37th annual Florida Association Code Enforcement Conference, getting their continuing education courses. Tomorrow, the PAR board members, most of the PAR board members, -2, are headed to Keystone Heights to attend the planning officials training workshop that's being hosted by the American Planning Association. They'll have breakfast and lunch, and it's an all-day event for them. And then next Friday, we're attending a Smarter Planning AI and GIS one-day workshop that's being hosted by the Florida Planning Zoning Association along with VCARD. And that's my only update. Thank you.
All right. And me.
Thank you to Colleen for attending and graduating. Congratulations to her. And I just wanted to thank you for providing me the opportunity to attend training I went Monday came back yesterday to the FACC summer conference, and I always learn something new, so come back with something to help. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
And I saw Rick came in. We emailed again about your plaque. We're waiting to hear back from him. It was ordered a while back. It's just not here yet.
All right, Commissioner Santori.
Yes, I attended the Florida League of Cities Institute of Elected Officials. It was a very informative 2 days, and as much as I studied, there was still stuff there that I learned, and I thought it was worth going to if you ever get a chance to go. The best part of it was making connections with other commissioners, because they all seem to be recently elected. So hearing their struggles and hearing what their cities are going through, and I do have to say I feel blessed to be in Flagler Beach. I think this is a beautiful town, and particularly with the beach renourishment, because a lot of cities haven't figured that out yet. They haven't had it renourished at all. So I'm thankful that we have that done. And they only touched on the new, well, I'll say one thing I campaigned on was reading the fine print. I think you can see in some of these agenda items I like to dig deep into them, and I credit to the rest of this committee commissioner for doing that too. But if you read the fine print on the actual joint resolution for Save Our Homes, I encourage the public to read Section 9. And I won't go into the details in this meeting, I'll save that for the next one, but it's really important that we understand that section, and I'm sure Drew Smith could lead us more into that. And I do have a question for you, Mr. Smith. Could you send me an email with all the ordinances or projects you're working on there to come before us? Because I know I'd like to know the dates, such as the golf course charter amendment. Thank you.
I'm sorry, help me, I'm confused by the last question. I thought I understood it and then it threw me.
So I know you're working on several ordinances, resolutions, and one thing I know I think we were going to be working on is the charter.
Golf course charter,
Yes.
that one, that's actually not on my radar, other than the last conversation we had was until it's closed, there's nothing to do with it. There's no charter referendum to have until it's not in the city's ownership. So we were waiting until it closing, so assuming that the closing goes on Monday, that will be the trigger point for that landing on the radar.
Okay.
So I mean, it's on the radar, but it's not on the timeline yet, because until we're no longer in complete control of that property, there is no referendum to be had.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Commissioner Spradley.
Thank you. So a week ago, I attended a county commission meeting because there was an item of interest that appeared on the agenda, it being Flagler Beach renourishment. And so I sat through there and listened to the county's struggles. At the end of the day, the county had budgeted $32 million for renourishment of a couple of the reaches, and bids went out. The best bid that came back was $35 million, and a lot of the reporting that was done at the county commission was done by the county engineer, who said, but it's okay, we'll have a hard cap at the $32 million that you approved, and there'll just be 16% less sand. And so that didn't go over all that great. And then it was discussed the timing of the payment by the county to the contractors compared to when the FEMA reimbursement money would come to the county. And that was set off everyone else's hair on fire, whose hair wasn't already on fire, because it was presented that there would be roughly a 4-month stage of construction, roughly $9 million per month. And it was stated that the county engineer stated he thought it would be a year to a year and a half before FEMA would reimburse the $32 million that the county would be out. And so that would essentially deplete a lot of the reserve funds. So that it was a bit chaotic. But having said that, there's no doubt that everything is going to go through. I think there's going to be a workshop coming up to discuss certain finer points of it, but everything is going forward. There were just those hiccups about payment and about 16% less sand. And one other point on that, it was reported that they're down to 17 holdouts, and that was presented as good news. And I did go to public comment and say, look, we had one holdout here, and that took 6 months and a lot of legal fees to resolve. And that, just because there's been a lot of folks who've given easements and we're down to 17, it doesn't get easier. It gets harder. The ones who are holding out for a reason. So the county's got a lot on its plate to do that, but Commissioner Hanson, particularly, and Commissioner Dance, made it a point to say this is not something that we're not going to do. It's just that we have to deal with these issues. So that's how that went. Let's see what else. Oh, as far as the property tax issue coming out of Tallahassee. There's a lot of time and money being expended to educate the public on why this would be a good idea. And maybe it will be to dispense with property tax to a degree. But what I'm waiting to hear is for those who may not necessarily be supportive of it, but for them, I want their voice to answer one question I have. And that is, for every city, municipality, and county in which there is a budget, we all have them, there is a percentage of that budget that is dependent upon revenues from property tax. What I've not heard is what is going to replace the property tax. It's just not something that gets said. It's got to come from somewhere. Occasionally I'll hear someone say, well, the cities will just have to trim the fat. Well, I've been sitting up here for 3 years. There's not a lot of fat to be trimmed. And so I'm hopeful that between now and November that there'll be an education process to tell us of what those who support the cut of property tax believe or will support alternative revenues to make up the difference. Because we're going to have to deal with that. And I'm excited about going to the League of Cities annual conference in August because, as I've shared with Mr. Martin, I'm sure that's going to dominate the conversation is what are we going to do about this. So I'm just saying that as I sit here today, I have no idea what is going to replace or what would replace the revenues into the city budget that are dependent upon property tax. So just have your ears open as things go forward. And Drew, can you shed any light on that?
No. I mean, I know, this one I know zero more than you guys.
Thank you for that. That's it.
The people who proposed it don't know where the money's coming from.
Right. Understood.
Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah.
So they proposed a cool concept with zero regard for unintended consequences.
Yeah.
All right, Commissioner Sherman.
Yeah, Mr. Barner, I just wanted to follow up with you. By chance, did you ever hear anything back? I think it might have been 2 commission meetings ago. You had mentioned about the residents that were approved or to have their homes raised. Have you heard anything if those residents are moving on that or anything?
That, basically the city has turned that over to a consultant that helped us with that. There were the 4 homes, and to the best of my knowledge, and I'll follow through with it, but I think that process is moving forward.
Got it. Thank you. And then the other point was I just wanted to update everybody. I did attend the ILA meeting today. It was very informative. You know, there's, I would say, we are the smallest one that will be, you know, contributing potential more students to the school district. I think our numbers came in after, you know, this is factoring in Veranda Bay, Summertown, and the cottages over there on the other side of the bridge. Approximately 456 students. You know, it was incredible to see all the other growth, though, that's outside of our control, to include Bunnell, the county. You know, you don't hear a lot about that, but the county is contributing a lot of the growth that we're seeing here as well. And also, you know, Palm Coast, and you know what wasn't accounted for there though was some of the westward expansion of some additional growth that they're going to be having going out in that area. But overall, there's no movement as far as schools going. I think interestingly enough, what the data is showing is birth rates are declining, so things actually further out, the numbers do tend to go down. But you know, you know, I was actually talking to Mr. Martin about this before the meeting, that even though we're seeing you know, an increase in students going to you know, using their vouchers or going to other schools outside of our public school system, we still have to account for a desk for them at the school, you know, at the school, you know, at the county level. So it was a very good conversation. I thought there was a lot of good information sharing amongst the elected officials that were there and the city planners that were there as well. So it was an overall good meeting, and that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Cunningham.
I. I'm gonna talk about it every time. If we start working on our I throughout town, especially the hot spots, and we can eliminate the reverse osmosis and save $5 million, why wouldn't we want to do that? That's my question, first question. I know Dale said in one meeting they were coming from laterals, which makes it even better because we can identify the laterals and make them get fixed and stop the over 200,000 gallons of non-wastewater 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It never stops. Why wouldn't you want to do that? I don't get it.
Didn't we, when we talked about this last, didn't we agree that there was something in place in the future to camera those pipes or something like that to get to the source in those bad areas or something like that?
Yeah, there's some tools or techniques, and one of the things that'll probably come before you shortly, that Mr. Freeman is pursuing is another round of smoke testing to determine where some of those laterals are and things like that. So you should be seeing that. So yeah, it's a work in progress right now.
It needs to be faster. We're focusing on all the pretty stuff and not fixing what our stuff that's broke. That's our priorities are all messed up. The other thing, the pond down on South Flagler and South 12th. There's a high spot where they cleared the little clearing going out to the Smith Creek. The water level is not able to get down to at least below where the bottom of the skimmer is. Then when that happens, none of the swales on both sides of the road on South Flagler are able to drain because it stops at the skimmer. It has to drain down. There's just about a 10-foot high spot that needs to be taken down so the water can get out of the pond down to below where the skimmer level is, the bottom of it, so then the water from the swales can get into the pond. It's not able to get in there, so there's always going to be water standing. Even worse when the rainy season comes and water table's high. You got to get the water out. Hope somebody wrote that down. On South Daytona between 27th and 28th, I know we're doing some stormwater work down there, but I was driving down there yesterday. There's a house, it's 2724 South Daytona. They have a 6-foot privacy fence from the back, halfway up the lot with 2 double gates. Any idea what that is? Anybody? Very odd. Very, very odd looking. It's like they're trying to hide something back there. I don't know. That's all I got for now.
All right, the only thing I got is very small, but I think it's significant. There's been a lot of things brought up about safety around job sites, especially these lift stations and work and stuff like that. If you look at the location, the lift station of North 8th and North Flagler, that corner, they're working on that. Whoever's doing that's doing a really good job. They have a little fence set up around it. It's always tidy. It's always good. Whatever contractor it is, if it's our guys, great. There's a contractor working on it, and that should really be case study for how we should be approaching work, you know, in these around these lift stations. Because if you drive by it, it's always perfect. It's always fully fenced. There's no safety hazards or anything like that, and I just think that needs called out because that's been quite an issue. It's been brought up numerous times about stuff like that. But Bill, I'm sure you know who it is, but tell them good job, and just, if we can replicate that at where these other folks are working. Write it in the contract or insist on it, just replicating whatever that is. I think that'll help with the citizen concerns around safety with those projects. That's all I got. We'll open this up for public comment. Any members of the public wish to speak under public comment? 3 minutes, and if you can start with your name and address. Who is this mystery man coming up here?
Rick Bellimer, Flagler Beach. It was nice to hear that we got some new equipment coming to the park. So that's another thing I can take off my list. Can't help but notice that flagpole's missing. So there's one thing, there are height restrictions on flagpoles for everybody but the city. So you could put quite a grand flagpole out there if you wanted to, and if you could get Minaj to agree to it, I think we could get some contributions to make that happen. So, just a suggestion, might be a fun initiative, have a big old grand flagpole out there. And of course, a flag to match. Thanks.
Yeah, looking like, what is that, RV World or something like that, whatever that one is? Yeah.
Paul McKiga, 351 Palm Circle. Looking forward to the planning training tomorrow. Hopefully it prepares the par board for the hot potato y'all just sent back. So thanks for that. Just one little piece of good news. I bugged FDOT again about their plans for Moody Lane and Palm Drive, and they claim that it's going to be a September 1st bid date, and then construction within 60 days after that. So hopefully by the end of the year, Moody Lane and Palm Drive will be resurfaced. Fingers crossed.
Nice.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right, I'll close public comment. I thought the flag was an excellent suggestion.
We haven't forgotten about it. The only reason we haven't pursued it is because we want to make sure we locate it in the right location, depending on what the concept for Veterans Park is going to be. That's the only reason we have the flag that's in the close proximity with City Hall here, but that's the only reason we haven't restored it, because we have to figure out what is going to be the Veterans Monument in Veterans Park. So that's the only reason we're holding off on that.
All right, good info. All right, with that, I'll look for a motion to adjourn.
The property he was talking about on South Daytona, it has the front of that house on a net, and it's a through lot, and that's their rear yard on South Daytona.
Through lot.
Yeah, I've got it. We can adjourn it on.
Between two streets.
All right, let's take that offline. All right, look for a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
All right, we are adjourned.
You gotta be there at 6:30.
Yeah. I guess so. Probably not be awake.
You're losing more weight than I am.
No. How you doing, man? What's that? Oh, you guys, the Have a good one, man.
Looks like it's still going on.